Yo, what's going on, everyone? How you all doing tonight? It's Saturday. I don't even know what day it is right now. I want to say it's the 3rd of February. Tomorrow's the 4th. Tomorrow's the big game. Tomorrow is Super Bowl Sunday. A title that is so notoriously protected via copyright that many people are even afraid to utter the word, to utter the phrase of Super Bowl because they don't want to be sued by the National Football League, a league that, according to some studies, don't know how accurate they are anymore, is basically on a downward spiral and will effectively run itself out of business by the year 2030. This is probably the reason why Vince McMahon is coming back with XFL, because he knows that the NFL's in some serious shit, and if he doesn't, if anyone could swoop on in with a new national sport, I think it probably would in fact be him, and that's okay. So that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm fucking thinking. If I could type, if I could fucking talk or anything else. I am legitimately just exhausted. What's going on, Derek? How are you, buddy? Yes, my camera isn't on because I am just too fucking tired to be on camera right now. I don't feel like it. I'm on camera like 99% of the time. I just don't want to be on camera. So that's where we are right now. I did send the link out to a couple people, see if they want to join on in. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Yeah. All right, let's just send the word out to a couple more people. All right, how you guys doing? You guys haven't? Okay. Here's a question. Here's a question to the 53 people watching right now who all should be hitting that like. I can't go to sleep, Megamind. I want to, but I can't. I can't go to bed because my child just went to sleep, and I have a little bit of time before she wakes up again, and I have to feed her and then get her back down. The shittiest thing about this, though, is by the time I get to go to bed, I will have been awake for nearly 24 hours. So that's fun. Good times. But here's the thing. Rachel, I will say hi to Maddie when she wakes up. Right now, she is asleep. Who do you guys think are going to win the goddamn Super Bowl? Hey, Sid, do you want a link to come in? Huh? Yeah. You're awake and you're alert. You want to talk? I'll make you moderator, motherfucker. That's what I'm gonna do. That's why. Why aren't I getting sleep? Because I have a newborn. I actually passed out cold last night, like 11 p.m. Like, bam, done. Woke up at 5. So, nobody saw Sid Alpha coming. That's why we haven't been able to pin him with the crimes yet, because he's sneaky. I'm just joking. Sid is a good guy. It's a good YouTube channel. You all should go and check him out and subscribe to him. He is deserving of that YouTube plaque that they may not give him because of his opinions. Who knows? Who fucking knows at this point? YouTube has gone to shit, right? It has. So, oh, okay. Let's. Where's that at? There we go. You really don't care about football, Beth? I'm the same way, man. I am the same way. I don't care about many sports. Used to play basketball, used to play baseball when I was in school. You may not think it to look at me, but I was quite the athletic spud as a young lad. Played 3 years of baseball, little league, right? Jumped over to 3 years of basketball because I just like to dribble, and also scouts at the same time. I was an active kid. Then I turned into an adolescent, and I just said, fuck it. So there we go. Hey, what's up, man?
Oh shit, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing all right. I didn't know. What are you up to tonight?
So I'm sitting here with an old friend of mine, Ian, and we are toasting to the departed, our dearly departed friend, and we're actually sitting in the parking lot of a vet clinic waiting for his wife to get off. So I'm drinking a beer.
That's I understand that. I understand that, man. I'm sorry to hear about your friend. That's sad.
The only sure thing we know about life is that eventually it ends.
Yeah.
But is what it is. So you doing this? You doing this live show there, Matt? You doing a live show? Is it going good?
It's going okay. Just started. Just started.
Just started. That's right.
Fucking, I'm on like the midnight diaper duty, so I gotta hang out. I'm like, I might as well talk to people, or else I'm gonna pass the fuck out.
Oh yeah, no, I know the game, man. I know the game.
Yeah.
How old is she? 3 months now?
Nah, she's 9 weeks tomorrow.
9 weeks. Fuck. Yeah.
So that's fucking crazy. She's getting big, like bigger. Like I was looking at photos of her newborn photos yesterday, and it's like, wow, she's gotten like just longer and then way more alert. It's so cool to watch her grow. It is pretty cool. I do enjoy that quite a bit.
It's pretty intense. Yeah, they grow like weeds at first, man. It's a magical time. I'm jealous of you, buddy.
That's what happens when you feed them.
Yeah. She fucking eats a lot too.
Right. See, that's what you got to do. You got to like space out them feedings so they don't grow too fast, right? You know, and you want them to get too big either, so you got to keep them in a really small box.
Wait a minute. Are you
So
talking
basically, what you're saying is we have to treat them like they're any Japanese citizen. Just shove them in a dresser drawer, and then that's that. That's what you're saying.
No. Treat them like Chinese women's feet. You got to put them in a box, bind them, and break them, and make them small.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was gonna go a different direction. I was thinking like bonsai kittens. Do you remember bonsai kittens?
I remember. It sounds so familiar.
God.
I feel like it's like a '90s thing, isn't it? Is it a 90s thing?
It was like a mid 2000s meme.
It's like a CJ thing, wasn't it?
There was this, like, for a while people were up in arms on the internet thinking that it was real, that these people were like putting kittens into these jars and then like feeding them, and so when they grow, they would grow into the shape of the jars.
Well, how else are you supposed to get a teardrop shaped cat?
That is,
people thought it was
fucking horrible. It's just a meme.
People thought it was fucking real for the longest time. It was like,
well, don't you know Facebook is going to start charging you soon?
Oh right, yeah. I keep meaning to set up my Bitcoin account through them.
Yeah, that's right.
So they fucking.
Just make sure as long as you copy pasta that shit in there that says that you don't consent to them selling your information, you're all good.
There you go.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Got to make sure that Mark Zuckerberg doesn't get any more money.
Right, that's how it works. It's legal.
That's how all this works.
My favorite one is always the if you retweet this or repost this or share this, like Microsoft will give you money.
Oh, dude, yeah,
like,
those are incredible.
I could always use some more money.
Don't get me wrong. I fucking love money, but I know that I know that Bill Gates ain't gonna give me any.
Right. Yeah. Or fucking like anytime somebody wins the Mega Millions lottery and shit, and they're like, eventually these tweets pop up like, I'm gonna give away to the first blah 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 people who retweet this, and it's always like, I'll give away, like $30,000 to the first 5,000 people who retweet this, and like you do the math and you're like, that's more money than they won. What the fuck?
Dude, they're not going to give it to you if you keep that kind of attitude up.
Yeah,
shit, that's right.
Exactly. Well, it's like Ellen DeGeneres. She just did something worth $1 million the other day. Gave her audience $1 million.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Well, I don't care what her age is. I know she's 60. Google's like Ellen DeGeneres age. I'm like, she just turned 60. That's what I'm looking up. $1 million. Okay, let's see what this is here, because she gave $1 million to the audience. So, all right, no, okay. So she says, okay. So I guess she gave everyone in the audience $1 million.
Like each person got $1 million?
No, each person in the audience is splitting $1 million. So
Okay.
So, and those audiences are not very big. You're talking like 50 people, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like I
Just
went to a
listening to audio
taping
clips
of
she
like
did.
Craig Ferguson show, and it was like a super small audience when I used
So
to.
she's
LA.
trying to out Oprah.
She's trying to out Oprah, but the way she did it though is, I mean, if everyone, what would be 50? Like, let's just average that out real quick. Bring up my calculator here.
All right.
1 million divided
That'd be
by
like,
50.
I think that's like
20 grand each. 20 grand each.
Yeah, 20
right?
grand. Yeah.
So 20 grand, and you figure
Woohoo, wicked math.
20. Yeah, you're looking at like they're gonna have to pay out maybe $5,000 in taxes,
Right.
depending. And then it's like, but she gave it to them at the start of the fucking year. If anything, she just gave these people like money to pay their fucking taxes or pay off their credit cards and shit. Because 15 grand is a nice gesture, but it won't go that far.
Right. Right. Ah, that's nice of her though. That's cool.
Wait. She gave them 20 grand each. 5 grand of that in taxes is very, very minimal. I remember getting a bonus from work that was taxed at 44%. So,
Yeah.
Like, could be it
capital
could,
gains tax on that.
I mean, at the end of
Capital
okay,
gains,
it's 44%. You're still walking home with 10 grand.
Yeah, you're still getting the 10
You're
grand.
still
That's
getting
not
10
bad.
G's. I mean, you can buy a lot of hand jobs with 10,000. That's all I'm saying.
I could attest to that.
It depends, especially depending on the city you live in.
Oh. How prolific your Chinatown is. Not racist. It's not
Well, what is it?
racist.
No, it's in Las Vegas. The last time I was in Vegas, they always hand out those like stripper trading cards.
Whore cards in Vegas. I got a great game for whore cards.
They're great, man. They're fucking great. And you get it, like you can see at like they had ones on there. It was like, oh, a hand job for $50. I'm like, seems like a high price to pay. Yeah, pretty solid hand job.
I feel like I've led a little bit too sheltered of a life, or have never been to Vegas.
Okay, so if you're walking out on the Vegas Strip after about 2:00 in the morning, there's just lines of people with cards, and they just hand them to people, and they've got like very attractive women on it. It's like $50, and I come to your room, or 2-for-1 deal, blah blah blah. But like I did some looking into that. I actually didn't call them, but I did some internet searching, and apparently the cost that's on those is just to get them to show up.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then after that, it's then they charge you an arm and a leg for, pulling your arm or your leg.
You don't have to pay anything if you kill them.
That is true. But as we learned from the 1998 dark comedy Very Bad Things, killing an Asian hooker in Las Vegas only leads to bad karma for you and all your friends. So
wait, how much bad karma? Reddit's got me a bunch of good karma, so does it balance out?
It's
kill your friends.
Here's a question, man. Quick side question. How long until karma on Reddit becomes a new cryptocurrency?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh.
I love this idea of like, can I pay off all of my like negative soul points with my Reddit karma? Like, how many dead hookers can I pay off right now from all that really good photoshopping skills?
But here's the thing too. How many dead hookers did you post to get all that karma?
Well,
Wow.
it could just be meta memes too.
That's true.
Well, I walked into a deep conversation here.
Yes, you did, Magog.
There's also,
Fucking theological up in this bitch.
Sid Alpha. So we got Sid Alpha. If you guys don't know who he is, he's a good YouTuber. Covers lots of gaming news.
Hell yeah, dude.
And I'm actually sitting here wondering, why am I here?
Because it's Saturday night, motherfucker.
I feel like I do not have enough alcohol in my system for this conversation.
Why does he look like a sadder version of you, Matt?
Because
got
I
enough
am a
alcohol.
sadder version of Matt.
I have enough alcohol inside of us for the both of us. We're all right. We're
I'm
good.
joking. I'm joking. And who is that with you, Jeff? That guy looks like he kicked somebody's fucking ass. Look at that fucking beard.
I reanimated the corpse.
Okay.
No, I reanimated the corpse of Anton Cesar LeVay. So, this is my fault too. I actually shaved his head. This is my buddy Ian.
Yeah, it looks like I can rub that thing and see the future.
Not saying you can.
You pay him
might have
enough
to buy
money,
him.
I'm sure anything is possible. As we were just discussing whores in Las Vegas, right?
Your head is as smooth as my balls.
My balls is as smooth as my head.
Fuck yeah. This guy knows. This guy knows things.
Do you keep a well-shortened scrotum, Magog?
Fuck yeah, you know I do. I shave that shit with a battle axe.
Good.
One nut at a time. You can't do both though with the battle axe, right? Because you might, you know.
He cause a crater in between the two, and like you're not gonna get an even shave. You have to go one ball, and then the next one.
Not only that, but if
Exactly.
you slip, you're still mostly okay.
Right.
You're doing both at once and you slip, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Well, you also want to, I would say like you'd want to come from like the bottom up, right? Like you would normally shave anyway, just because like you'd have a better view of what stubble is remaining.
Shut up, Matt. Nobody does taint first.
I'm just saying. I'm saying like you get in there, you got to get the stock and then you got to get the berries. But when you get to the berries, it's sensitive, so you got to be very careful how you do that. So.
Oh yeah. Oh
Well,
yeah.
you can also pull it like a fucking pancake too. Like that's the thing. So if you really want to smooth it out, you find a rock, just lay it out flat. Right. I'm not saying I've ever done that. I'm just saying it's like the thoughts crossing my mind.
I don't even know what to say to that. I don't even know. Did Matt just win the internet? Like what just happened?
I can't wait until your kid's old enough. Eventually, something you'll hear in the fucking Jarbo household. No, honey, put that down. That's Daddy's ball shaving rock. Don't touch it.
Jesus Christ.
No, that's I got a special trimmer for that, so that's good, So keep that aside. It's locked in a drawer.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing too. When the kid gets older, you're like, what do I have to hide from my kid? Got to make sure. Okay, my vape pens are put away.
Have you
all
ever
my
put
porn is
Nair on your
digital, so I'm
balls?
good there.
Try
I'm sorry,
Nair. Nair is awesome.
Nair is awesome.
You just can't leave it on that long or it'll burn your nuts off. Okay? It's like a chemical. All right? But if you use it, your shit's smooth as eggs.
I've never used Nair on that part of my body or any part of my body, but
I'm not brave enough to even give that a try.
it's one of those things.
You're a smarter man than me, Sid Alpha.
2 words: chemical burns.
Yeah.
Chemical burns.
Not that I'll jerk off with it. I don't give a fuck. I like pain.
You don't want to get the Nair inside the urethra. That's like really where the problem's.
I think
gonna
it's
be.
worse than shampoo.
Oh yeah.
So what you're
About
Probably.
to prevent you from
Jeff, is that
getting
they need to
anything
have, like,
inside your
like
pee
a hoodie
hole.
for a
Put a
pee,
rusty nail in it to block it.
right?
God damn it! What the fuck? My God, Jesus Christ!
I mean, what he's saying isn't inaccurate, though.
No,
What the fuck? What the fuck?
that's called a Satan's Prince Albert. That's what that's called.
Well, that's a term I haven't heard in a long time. I remember back in the 90s, like when I first learned what a Prince Albert was, I had a bunch of my friends that were like, I'm totally going to get my cock pierced. I'm like, no, you're not, dude. Like, you didn't even, like, you just want to have a bar through your dick, so it makes you feel like you're cooler. But later on in life, it's just, no.
I mean, it kind of
Yeah.
you have to automatically sit down to pee if you get a Prince Albert. Like no matter what, from now on, you're always gonna sit to pee. Not worth it to me, man.
Well, I have 2, so
Well, isn't
Oh,
it
you
like,
don't have to pee, but you do
not
if you don't want
2
to.
Prince Alberts. I have 2 dicks. One of them's pierced. One of them's all natural.
Oh, so you can just like pinch one off at the base and pee through the unpierced dick.
I don't know how it works, and I have no idea where this joke is going, to be honest with you.
It's all right. We can examine it at length anyway. It's totally fine.
so what you're saying is, Magog, when you come to VidCon, is that going to be something you're going to want to share with the group? Because you may want to get your own hotel.
Oh, somebody's giving me a handy chair. I don't give a fuck who, but somebody's doing it.
Well, I'm pretty sure Failure will be there. So, yeah, you'll be fine.
Oh,
I don't like Cuban hand jobs.
Beer just come out your nose, Jeff?
God damn it. Oh, fuck.
Cuban hand jobs come with communism, and I don't like it. That gives all new definition to Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh my god.
Okay, so apparently we have a bunch of people in the chat that are like apparently coming from the Kumite, or it's just trolls that are saying a bunch of shit. I just find it pretty funny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't give a shit. You know, was it someone who's Andy Worski is calling you a bunch of faggots?
Okay.
Okay, cool. I don't give a shit. Andy Worski.
Have fun with that, guys.
Andy Worski.
I mean,
What?
I kind of have to one up on a lot of those people. I've already had a kid, so, you know. Hey.
So what you're saying is you've already experienced vagina at least once in your life.
Yeah,
He's got proof of once.
I actually have proof of it. Whereas a lot of the detractors in my life, the people who have kind of like to cast some shade on me and whatnot, I there's no proof that they've actually experienced vagina. They talk a lot of shit, but I mean, like, I could prove it. Like, I could actually prove it. So I'm just saying they're gonna have to step up their game if they want to intellectually go at me, bro.
What are you trying to say, Jeff? You just trying to say because I don't have a girlfriend, I can't get laid? Wizards are pimps, motherfucker.
I'm just saying, man. If people want to keep throwing shade on me, man. They want to cast doubts on my capacity of fagdom or non-fagdom. They're gonna have to start popping out some babies of their own. Otherwise, I'm just gonna call shenanigans and be like, why don't you people have babies? Why? What, are you fags? What the fuck's going on?
I just have a feeling that that Kilroy is going to turn into a game of here, smell my finger, and whichever one smells the worst, it's going to be like they've clearly banged the most pussy.
Well, Matt, like all of YouTube is turned into a game of smell my fucking finger at this point. Like, who gives a fuck?
It feels like that. I feel like Sid Alpha's probably unaware of a lot of what we're talking about. So
you'd be surprised.
Dude, YouTube is a giant dumpster fire at this point. Who gives a fuck?
I've been following what's going on, and I have a feeling that if this Amazon Tube thing comes through, it's going to be a real dent in what YouTube's up to. You've also got DTube, which is starting to come around.
Oh yeah,
and so yeah, they're gonna have to change up quite a bit. Hey, what's going on, Tim? How are you, buddy?
I thought you unfollowed me. Is that true, or you didn't?
I don't think I ever followed you.
Oh, seriously? Because I was keen to join the stream, but then it was like,
okay, hold on, let me.
He doesn't even follow me. So.
Hey, gentlemen,
you don't have to unfollow someone if you never follow them to begin with.
I wish all of you guys an amazing night. Have a great fucking time. I'm gonna go hang out with this crazy satanic motherfucker. I'll see you guys later.
All right, enjoy the strip club that you know you're going to inevitably be at.
That's actually exactly what we were just talking about. Bye bye.
That's the thing with Jeff Holiday. If you ever are unsure where to find him, ever, just Google the nearest strip club, and that is where he will be. Like every time we've been at some place and he's gone off for the night, the next day is like, I went to the strip club. It was a good time. I'm like, Jesus, dude. So how's everyone doing?
Good.
I'm tired.
Still alive.
Yes, well, we're all still alive one way or the other.
I'm not.
So, you were talking about Kilroy a second ago, or not?
Yeah.
Is that thing still going ahead?
Yeah, absolutely.
How is it still going ahead?
Because they still have a ton of funding.
You have very dandruff-free hair. You know that.
Who's talking there?
Let me see. I know I'm talking still.
Okay.
I'm still here.
Be there to see me talk.
I don't want to be mean or unaware. I just like
No, it's fine. It's fine.
A lot of people have like fallen away from that thing, right? So, but you're still going to that thing and you're still supporting it and so forth.
Yes. Yeah, there are people that have backed out for a multitude of reasons. Some because of scheduling conflicts, some because of other reasons, some because of drama, whatever you want to call it. But in the aftermath of what happened, in terms of just like the kind of the organizers having their own kind of falling out, and then all the kerfuffle, they were able to bring on. They went and they got like actual event coordinators, and they paid people to come on board and organize the event to make sure that it goes off.
Is it still being run by Baked Mama? Baked
Yeah,
Mama?
yeah,
Is
Based
that-
Mama.
No,
Event. Yeah, Baked. Hey, I would say that after that week,
that's
she
not her
should
name.
become Baked Mama. You know.
Okay,
I
why
actually
not?
hadn't heard about any of this yet.
I was
Oh
thinking of
well,
Baked Alaska.
it's a bit drama filled. It's you know, I guess the long and short of it, without going into too many specifics, you had the organizers of this free speech conference called Kilroy, and it was in my personal opinion, it turned into a case of the right hand didn't quite know what the left hand was doing. And when there were problems, there was a lot of conflict. They butted heads quite a bit, and then they ultimately had falling out. So like the two organizers that were kind of not getting along very well, they both exited. Now it's Space Mama, and she's been working with other people to get everything on track. So
I was
I'm
actually
sorry,
originally I was messaged by Dave Cullen, and he was like, you could come over and be one of the representatives of the left, and it just seems like the whole thing has fallen apart since then. So
no, it never fell apart technically. There are people that are like that want it to fall apart that were kind of prematurely claiming that it was dead.
Right.
And that was always kind of funny because like I knew that it wasn't dead, and I'm seeing these tweets like, well, Kilroy's officially dead, and like, no, it's still happening.
Well, I mentioned to my wife last year, I was like, oh, would you be keen to go to America? We might actually go somewhere and travel around and go to this conference and do various things. But then the whole thing, from my perspective, I guess not from your perspective, just seemed to fall apart. So I was like, oh, I guess we're not going to do that, but I guess we could still travel in America or something. But that whole conference seemed like it wasn't going ahead, but maybe it is, and it's just the marketing for it or like the advertising for it is not
what it was is there
know?
was a lot of drama at that moment because it was conflated with the Kraut and T Discord server situation,
Right.
which and there were comments that were made by Base Mama that I don't agree with, that I feel that didn't help the situation. But ultimately, once kind of tempers flared, or once tempers subsided, sorry, and people kind of moved on to whatever the next, you could say, drama of the week was.
Right.
Then they were still working on it from the back end. So there's that. And last I heard, that's what's going on.
Do you want it to be like a yearly thing, something that's regular?
I have no idea. I want to see it just happen, because I feel, I feel personally, and I've talked about this before, so it's like not a secret, but there were like a couple events that have taken place recently. Like you got Count Dankula and the dog, the Nazi pug thing that was clearly a joke that he might actually be going to jail. And hold on, I think I hear my. Yeah, okay. Give me 1 second. I have to go get my kid. Give me 1 second. Talks amongst yourselves.
That's exciting.
It finally happened.
Excellent. His channel is now ours.
I'm not going to Kilroy because there's not going to be strippers.
All I can say is subscribe to Motivator Opinion. Now that I have your attention. My channel's available.
Chill thyself.
You may think you're a fan of Mundane Matt, but you're not really. You're a fan of me. You just don't know it yet. And you have to subscribe in order to achieve that feeling.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Siddhartha, and I support this message. Follow his channel.
Well, it's like it's your turn to do your plug now, so go.
Oh, everyone should already be subscribed to my channel, but obviously not, means my subscriber base does not match Mundane Matt's. If it did, then I would have all of his subscribers. We're not there yet, but I feel that if you all pulled together, I could slowly take over his channel.
You haven't plugged yourself enough on his channel yet. That's the problem.
No, actually, I think this is the first time me and Matt have actually spoken live.
Ever.
Yeah, no, it's I usually do my streams that are more like just, like the news format type stuff. But when I've got to look after the baby, it's good just to kind of hang out, talk to people.
When your kid is like 12 or something, you're gonna play this stream back and be like, "You were actually on a stream on YouTube."
I think like I'm gonna want to try to keep her.
Yeah.
Just ignore the parts about Prince Albert and all.
Well, then that'll just be an odd question. Like, Dad, what's a Prince Albert? And it's just like, well, you don't have one, but it's when somebody wants to pierce their penis. Like having that.
I feel like your kid is not contributing. It's like, come on, give us an opinion.
So give us an opinion.
Could have something to say.
Right now, she's currently cuddled up underneath my chin, and everything. So she's been having trouble going to sleep today. So hopefully she'll be able to pass out.
She is the youngest Magogonite in existence.
I'm sorry. What was the other question?
Oh, I was asking how old she was.
Oh, she is 9 weeks tomorrow.
Yeah, because my sister just had a baby, and he's 1 week old, and we visited them yesterday, and he can't do anything. He can't do shit.
Well, yeah,
he's just
this one
lying
can't
around
do it either, but he tries.
God, you guys make me feel so old. My daughter's 13.
I think they really have to try harder. It's disappointing.
I have a feeling that this one will be 13 before I know it. So
give it a week. Yeah.
Give it a week. Yeah. That's what's going to happen. I mean, one of those things like, you're like, oh my God, she just won't stop getting bigger. And then my girlfriend's already like, let's have another one. I'm like, hold on. Let's get used to this one first.
Your baby
already wants another one?
Yeah, well, she wants 3. So I've agreed to 2. I'm hoping for 1, but I agreed to 2.
That's just tiring.
My wife wants 5. And I keep saying no. I'm like, 5 is no, I don't want 5.
The only thing I want 5 of is monitors.
Yeah. I think my limit is 3. That's the most I could possibly do.
I've got 3 right now, and I start running out of real estate.
See, I've got 5 cats, and I feel like that's enough.
Yeah.
One thing I really love is when I say, "Oh, my girlfriend and I had a kid." People actually give me a lot of shit over that. Like, you need to marry her. Like, why? Like, you just need to do it.
Tradition.
Okay. Like, I don't want to get married.
Your ancestors are judging you.
Probably, but they were already judging me for other things.
Like being gay.
Screw it. If you're it's your lives. If you're happy, that's all that matters.
I'm just saying, if you were, they would judge you for it.
So it's more like, I don't know. I just never really been one for the whole marriage thing. Some people like it, some people don't. It's just, I'm happy I got this little one. She's very cool.
What kind of person do you want her to grow up to be?
Oh man. The obvious answer given my channel topics would be not a feminist. But
that's exactly what I was wondering. That's the exact reason I asked.
All should inspire to that.
I mean, no, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like, if she grows up and that's how she wants to live her life, she was born that way, and I accept it.
No. Born as a feminist.
It's no, I would be fine with it. I'd give her a hard time over it, obviously, but like, it's just, if it's something she believes in and she very much believes in it, then that's something I'm for, because it's her choice.
I wouldn't want to be too ideological for my children. I felt like, if they wanted to challenge me on something, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
It'd be fun to sit around the dinner table and just fight about shit.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's kind of how I see it. Like, I figure if she's a gamer like me, and she comes out and she's just like, Dad, loot boxes aren't optional. We'll have words. So,
yeah. But she might be an anti-gamer.
Started on that.
I said that specifically for Sid.
God damn it.
I'm not entirely sure what your least favorite opinion is, but if she had that,
my
make things
least favorite
difficult.
opinion.
Yeah.
I'm a surprisingly really easygoing person. A couple things I get worked up over, but for the most part, I think like my least favorite opinion is just like information that is widely available that is just ignored.
Okay.
You can have your opinion on something, but it's like if you look at something that's like an objective, what it feels at least like an objective truth, or like a series of events. Okay, I guess the best way to describe it is I get really frustrated.
What if she said global warming is not true?
Oh, then we'd have serious words. I'll be like, okay, hold on, let's look at some studies. All right.
Okay. That was just my way of checking what you think about global warming, to be honest.
I think global warming exists. I lived in Southern California for 15 years. It got progressively hotter and more humid, and like you can shit changes. Like we have parrots that fly down around there now.
What if she was a Trump voter?
That's her mistake to make.
Oh. No, I couldn't.
At least she voted.
I think she'd be out of the house.
She was one of the 3 million illegals that voted.
I'd be like, goodbye forever.
No, it's the thing is I can't fault someone for how they vote, because if they are voting, I guess you could say their truth, whatever that truth may be, then they're still exercising their voice and they have a voice. I may disagree with who they voted for, but I won't give them a hard time for it, because we do live in a society where it's so much easier to put your foot down and to like chastise somebody for something rather than to understand why they did it. And it's not a perfect thing. Like, I'm not perfect at all. I make mistakes like that all the time, but I'd like to at least try with the baby to like have that kind of open discussion about stuff. Like if she disagrees with me on political
with
issues.
The baby.
Well, I mean, when she becomes old enough, when she becomes old enough in order to have right now, she's like, she battles sleep and food. That's about it.
Sorry, just saying, I was like, you'd probably be disappointed if you're trying to have these deep conversations with her when she's like 2. Like, why wouldn't you answer me? Say something.
I'm not expecting to have these conversations when she's 2. If I get to the point of where I'm seriously looking at my 2-year-old daughter, like, talk to me. I need help.
Your 2-year-old and say, now what did we say about Comey?
At that point, by the time she's 2, Comey will be a distant memory.
No, but the real question is what's going to happen with how do you say his name? Mueller.
Oh, Mueller?
Mueller?
Is it Mueller or Mueller?
Yeah, I say Mueller.
I feel like he's the big boss right now. He's the guy they're trying to take down, but they can't get to him because there's too many like things distracting or like side people.
Yeah,
Rosenstein. Rosenstein is the next nearest guy.
Yeah, and that was kind of what they were trying to do with this whole memo. But and I'm not too sure where you guys understand on it. I read it and it was about what I predicted. It was pretty much nothing that was that huge of a deal. It gave us some insight into what's going on, but it's known. I can't take anything Devin Nunes says with 100% truth.
Yeah, I haven't even bothered reading it yet because, a lot of it is there's definitely fabrication. It seems to me like there's definitely fabrication going on both sides. And so trying to form an opinion when you know there's falsehoods in the mix is, well, nigh on impossible.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, I watched Sean Hannity's take on it this morning and I was like, ooh, I want to see what he's going to say. And it was all like, oh, we've got him. It's the smoking gun sort of thing. And I'm just like, yeah, but if you go and you watch like Rachel Maddow's approach to it the night before, she looks at it and she's like, okay, let's go through it point for point, or not point for point, like let's hit these certain points. And then it's like, okay, well, here's what we can kind of ascertain this is versus this versus this. She's actually providing information, like showing the information on the screen. Whereas Hannity is doing that typical punditing of like, I'm telling you how it is. I'm telling you what's going on, And I was like watching like, yeah, dude, come on. Now you're just pushing propaganda. You're not even attempting to go through it.
show some facts to back up what you're saying, at least. You know?
But the thing is, and this is what like the two key takeaways for me on this memo, as well as some of the commentary, is everyone's like, this is a DNC funded thing. Like, well, yes and no. It was originally started by Republican opposition research into Trump. So a presidential candidate, we don't know who it is. I'm going to go on a limb and say it was Jeb, but because he had the most money, I think, in terms of his campaign. You know, this is a guy who spent $37 million to come in like what, last place in New Hampshire. So I think that was part of it. And then the DNC picked it up from Fusion GPS and continued on. But the memo is meant to indicate that the Steele dossier was the primary reason for the FISA warrant. Never mind the fact that this was the fourth time that the third time that the warrant was renewed, because every 90 days the warrant has to renew. And so at the end of the memo, it says that basically George Papadopoulos and that whole situation is what spawned the original request for the FISA warrant in the first place. So before the Steele dossier was even a thing, or even known about, really, then you had Papadopoulos being the you know, him running his mouth to an Australian diplomat while drunk at a bar about Russians that he met is what prompted the Australian diplomat to go to the FBI, as well as other things that Christopher Steele and Fusion GPS discovered, which is what prompted them to go to the FBI. So there's a lot that's gone on. I've said this before. I do not personally think that Trump is guilty of collusion, but I do think that he is attempting to cover up for other people, and that could have a serious backlash on him.
I felt like the entire point of the thing was to discredit Mueller.
It's kind of like a domino situation, right? So you want to knock down all the dominoes to get to Mueller. He can't fire. Okay, so Trump can legally fire Mueller if he wants. He has the authority. But if he fires the guy investigating him for obstruction of justice, then that's going to turn into
that could turn into obstruction of justice itself, right?
Yeah,
because they'll be like, you're trying to avoid being held accountable for something.
Pretty much, that's what it feels like, at least.
Yeah.
And
well, it would be extremely hard for people to be able to defend him. As like, well, this person, every single time he gets investigated, somebody ends up getting fired. You know.
Yeah, so I feel like they're trying to get to him in a roundabout way, like not directly, but through some random obscure memo that somebody wrote.
Well, Nunez, it wasn't what it was is they said that Nunez wrote the memo. It was Nunez's staff that wrote the memo, as far as I know. I mean, because this is the thing, like Nunez was on the Trump transition team. You know, back in March, he did that whole big thing when he ran out, held a press conference about some new information that he discovered, and then ran to the White House to give it to them. And even though it was the White House that gave it to him the night before, as we've learned, and it's like, how can you really trust that as being the most objective person on the planet when he made this big how to do about information he was given from the White House? And so, you know, there's some shady shit going on there. Like, people are defending Trump, and like, I'm like, I get it, you're doing party politics, but this could tank your entire party.
Isn't the whole purpose is to say that the Russian investigation is wrong or partisan? However, like, just because they had shady reasons to put a FISA warrant on Carter Page doesn't mean that there wasn't something happening or that they couldn't find something through an investigation. So to me, that doesn't really disprove the validity of the investigation. It perhaps disproves like the legal validity of some of the things that they're doing.
I think there's some. I'd have to see, honestly, in order to, I think, see whether or not the FISA warrants have been handled illegally or improperly. We would have to see the full fucking thing. You know,
I'm just saying that wouldn't disprove the entire investigation. It wouldn't just
it wouldn't. Wow, it wouldn't disprove Carter Page, who is like,
there's nothing to do with Russia, which actually is valid now because their FISA warrant was dodgy. You know what I mean? They're trying to say that that's the case. That if the FISA warrant is dodgy, the whole thing can be thrown out. I don't think that's the case. You know, that's just one.
Well, they're going to try everything they can, but I honestly, it's not going to work. That's why, you know, people have already stopped like the mainstream media won't be talking about this on Monday. You know, the Sunday shows might talk about it tomorrow morning. Okay. What's up? Sorry, she's getting fussy. But no, I mean, like Monday. I think Monday they're going to start talking about like the looming government shutdown.
I think they solved that already. Is that still going?
Too late for politics for me.
Well, we could talk about
You're going to bed,
killing
Magog?
people. I don't know what kind of things you talk about, Magog. Killing and ravaging.
Yes.
Destruction.
Yes.
Plundering.
Bad stuff. Plundering
magic,
something.
Magic sex things.
Magic sex things. Let's talk about
magic sex things. Is that what's happening? Is that what you're into, Magog? Magic sex things?
It's an important topic.
Well, you know, it is pants off o'clock. So,
well, yeah, it's pants off a clock all the time when you self-employed.
You should be marauding right now, and you're not.
Yes, I know. I'm a terrible wizard this weekend.
I didn't know that was a wizard thing, but...
Well, of course it is. I like to destroy entire villages with fire.
It's what you should be doing. Why are you so lazy?
I think there's a video game that could accomplish that goal right now. That or I won't even make the joke because it's really bad and stupid. It sounded funny in my head, and then I'm like realizing no, it's dumb.
It's a game called Wizard Morozing. It's not a word.
I was gonna make a joke about him putting little like dragon wings on his penis and then ejaculating on like a model village or something.
Ice dragon. That's probably a game already.
That shit's really relatable.
I know.
This is happens when you're tired and you're trying to like make funny jokes and shit. It just doesn't work out very well.
I know, right? That's kind of the problem I'm having. I'm fucking dead.
So, well, Magog, so how are things on your end with your channel and also your prospects for the future? I haven't talked to you much about that.
Wonderful. Doing wonderful.
Tell me about your prospects. How are they? What would you do if someone was like, they're fucking awful, like I'm fucked?
I would clearly be sympathetic and then, you know, offer a rub and tug underneath the blanket to make him feel better, but
I have nowhere to go.
Don't tease me, Matt.
VidCon is only a few months away. Are you coming to VidCon, sir? Are you coming out?
I'm definitely going to try, but I don't think I'll make Kilroy because it's in the middle of my studies.
Well, like I said, if you had to pick between one or the other, man, VidCon's going to be lit.
Your studies.
My magical studies at the Academy of Magi in Rune Vault.
Is that fictional?
No.
Don't lie to me. It's fictional, isn't it? You have no studies.
Magog is gonna go away. You guys can talk to the human avatar from your world. I plan on possessing and conquering you all.
Okay.
This guy doesn't exist.
What it is he's got a sex slave that's with him. You know, he just brings it out when he's just trying to like, you know, act normal.
Stop it.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ. Whatever happened to Big Gay Al, man? He like
I don't know.
He kind of fucked off on that show for a while. He hasn't been around.
He's too gay. He's too gay for the television.
Goodbye.
Is he too gay to be PC now?
He wraps around gay's integer right around into straight.
Well, I thought that'd be like Mr. Slave, really. Mr. Slave would be the one that would be too stereotypical for.
Nah, probably. South Park's just fucking does whatever the fuck they want anyway.
Yeah, did you guys see this last season? Did you guys?
I have not actually.
It was the season finale was not good.
I'm too fucking busy.
It was not good because the season was kind of was a return to like old form in terms of like standalone episodes versus an overall narrative, and then it got into some of the narrative stuff every once in a while. Like it would kind of have a weaving thread with some characters. And then it gets to the season finale and you're thinking like, okay, they built up some stuff. Like they did something that was like pretty kind of jaw dropping in the second last episode. And then it was just like, yeah, whatever. It's 22 minutes. Let's finish this shit and go home. I was severely disappointed in the season finale.
Yeah, I'm not all that concerned with South Park. It's been running for so long. You're bound to get some bad season finales now and again. All shows do.
No, yeah, all shows. No show can be on the air for 21 seasons.
There is a show
I was going to say it's been over 20 years now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
There is a show I am interested in watching. Just came out on Netflix.
Oh, Altered Carbon.
Altered Carbon, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
check that one out.
I hear I've like some of the reviews have said mixed things. I haven't heard anyone really talking about it on Twitter, which is usually not something that you see when it comes to a new big show.
Wait, I thought I just saw a comment that said Anita was right. The hell?
About what? Nita is never right.
About everything.
It's like I thought that was a physical impossibility. I mean, won't the world just automatically implode if she was actually right about something?
Well,
even a broken clock is right twice a day.
That is true. There are things.
Yes, but a broken clock has never met Anita Sarkeesian.
That's very true.
I almost did. I almost did. I saw her. We locked eyes. We locked eyes.
Like, if a clock is more broken, it's right more often.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you say that again, Tim.
If a clock is more broken, it's right more often. So she's like twice as broken, so she's twice as right.
I would say that when it comes to Anita, probably
it's just science, by the way.
The biggest thing, like she can have her criticisms, right, on stuff, that's fine, but it's like when she runs to her tower and hides and then uses it as a deflection for years, I just have to laugh.
I wouldn't care if she was just somebody on YouTube, but she's actually like on like Google's fucking diversity council, and she spoke at the UN and all kinds of shit.
She went to the UN to tell them to stop letting people make money talking about her. That's what it was. She's like, there's a cottage industry response videos to me, and
everybody talks about her going to the UN, but did she actually have any influence on
No. Her and Zoe Quinn going to the UN literally amounted to nothing. The entire thing, as far as I can tell, was a move spurred on by Representative Catherine Clark out of Massachusetts.
How the hell did they even get in?
That's the thing. What it was. Okay, so what it was. They went to. So okay, like I said, there's Representative Catherine Clark. All right, she was in Zoe's district, or she's representative of Zoe's district when Gamergate started, and all that stuff went down. And so she heard the story, she listened and believed, right? And she was like, "You poor thing," and then took her under her wing. And Zoe went and spoke on Capitol Hill. That wasn't a YouTube stream or nothing. They periscoped that shit, right? Like Zoe went and spoke on Capitol Hill. And through that, I'm assuming is when they went and got the situation with the UN, set up, and they went and they did all that. But yes, it absolutely amounted to nothing.
Then why does everyone go so insane about it if it wasn't?
It's funny.
Significant.
Well, it's funny. It's insignificant.
But people don't think it's funny. They think it's like really serious. They think it's.
I think it's seriously funny. Thing. Because like if I was ever in a position where like, I've been doxxed, I've been swatted, all this shit, and it's like if I ran to like the government, like someone sent the cops to my house to kill me, people would sit there and laugh because it's kind of it's a more serious thing than people being mean to me on the internet.
But wasn't Zoe Quinn, she was the focus of an entire movement, basically.
Well, okay, hold on. There is some. I'm gonna say that there's some truth to that, but at the same time, it was as fleeting as anything else. Okay, so what you
I was gonna say, I figured that was more of a catalyst.
It was it was a catalyst, but it did have a couple days of where it did reign supreme.
Mm-hmm. There are many layers to that onion.
Well, from her perspective, she's like, everybody is attacking me all the time, 24/7. I guess like that's just what she would be thinking, and I guess you'd be thinking like you're full of shit, like you're a fucking liar.
And the thing is the thing when it came to the Zoe post, right, is I don't know if you ever read it.
The one from an ex-boyfriend. Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But if you go and you look at like the chat logs, because this is kind of where he had in fact the smoking gun with him. He had the
It's
evidence.
got a really weird name, like something.
Aaron Joni, yeah.
Aaron Joni, okay.
Yeah, ERON and whatever. And he's a weird dude, right? I you know, he's a weird guy, and you could tell he's angry and he felt hurt and he wanted to lash out, and I understand that. You know, she cheated on him 5 times, and the thing is though is that in those chat logs, she says that if she were to be cheated on, essentially, and the person who cheated on her partner did not tell her that he cheated on her and then proceeded to have sex with her, in her mind, that would be considered rape. And that is exactly what she did to Aaron. But that standard doesn't apply back to her. That was one of the biggest criticisms, was like that. The problem with it is, and this is where you get, you know, internet detectives, so to speak, and internet detectives will come in and they will look at certain things from a certain lens and maybe not give all the information. The biggest thing, you know, the thing with my original video was like, I was crass, I will admit, but I said, to summarize, like, I don't care if her and Nathan Grayson are fucking. I don't care about any of that, right? They can have whatever relationship they want. None of that concerns me. What concerns me is that he did, in fact, give her game favorable coverage. I think I said positive press or something, but I didn't say a review. But in her book that came out back in August or September, she said that she implies that I'm the one that started the sex for reviews thing, and that I'm the one who was trying to. I'm in the book 3 times, not by name, but by avatar. Little Blue Skull guy is what she calls
Blue Skull guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've been reading the book. So,
yeah, that's me. None of that's true.
You're the Little Blue Skull guy.
Yeah, none of that is true, man. Not one fucking thing about that.
She says that the guy didn't actually review her game.
No, she says that, but she implies in that passage about the video of mine that was taken down for my first video is that I was the one that was doing that. Oh yeah, hey Tim, can you actually turn your sound up a little bit, because you're coming in kind of low?
Oh, I'm just on my phone, so
okay.
Really quiet.
The last thing I will say before I leave, because I really am tired, is you should request an autographed copy of that book.
Well, let me tell you guys this. Mr. Repsion and I actually went to Seattle back in October when she was doing her speech. She was giving a speech she was doing her book tour. She was in Seattle at some place in Capitol Hill. We went. We got there about a half hour late because we had to take the subway in, and we could not locate the room where she was speaking. And when we got there, we overheard another person asking for Zoe Quinn, and that woman who worked at the bookstore said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't know where she's at." So we didn't know where to go and find her. We kind of ended up just walking around for about maybe 35, 40 minutes, and then ended up, you know, kind of waiting around outside to see if she was going to finish up her book signing. I was on Twitter checking out her feed and checking out if anyone was tweeting at her, and there were like 2 people that said that they were going to the event. So we couldn't tell where the hell it was. So yeah, we went I was going to go confront her about it. I was going to go and say like, "Hey, listen, why you got to be lying about me in your book? I never tried orchestrating a protest against you to circulate your nudes at PAX." Right? Like, I have a video where I talked about a potential protest that someone else had suggested, and I was like, "Don't." Okay. She's
like, "Stop attacking Zoe Quinn."
But no, but I said, like, you know, the thing is, everything in that book that's about me is a lie. And there's no evidence, there's no anecdotal evidence. Like, that was the biggest takeaway from that book. And you'll notice if you read it, the first half when she's going through her life story, it's a lot of anecdotal things. It's written like a 13-year-old girl's live journal blog. And even there's even one point in time where she literally like jumps back a year, like she skips forward 2 years and then jumps back a year in the narrative without giving you any context. It's just like a hard cut back to a year in like the same page. There's like no chapter breakdown or anything. It's a really,
she must have been watching Superman when she was writing that.
Maybe it was a really poorly written book. I'll tell you that.
Do you think she actually slept with somebody to get a good review?
No, of course not. No. I've never said that she even remotely did that at all. Like I said, she is the type of person that jumps from guy to guy to guy to guy to guy. Whoever can take care of her is the guy she wants to be with. If you go and even read her book, in her book, when she talks about the days leading into Gamergate, she and Alex Lifshitz were both unemployed, both basically homeless, right? And he was taking a job at some game studio in the south of France. They had just started dating like a month or so earlier, and she was going to go move in with him in the south of France. And
But you're doing some kind of like psychological analysis of her.
Right? I am.
You're saying like, oh, I know why she does things, or like she's the kind of person who would do this kind of thing. But
because I've read reports of people who know her, and I've you know, being that ultimately my video being taken down was one of the catalysts for what Gamergate turned into. My job at the time was to be as, you know, in the know as I possibly could. So I read other reports and people that knew her, and I followed.
At least when I read her book, she seems fairly like I don't know, on the level. Like she seems like she's just saying the kind of, like, she doesn't seem like she's saying I'm the sort of person that sleeps around people. She seems to just be saying I'm a regular person. You know, at least when I read the book.
Well, no, I get that, and that's also what she wants to convey. And in her mind, maybe she does feel she is that way. I'm not saying that she's like a whore or a slut or anything. I'm not saying that at all. You can sleep with whoever you want. I don't give a shit. And again, I don't care if she cheated on Aaron 5 times. It's a scummy move, and he should have caught on and ended it. He should have walked away.
Where'd you get that from? Like the 5 times thing from him or from?
That's his blog. Her? His blog. His original.
It's hard to trust him.
See, the thing is, though, I trust him more than I trust her because he provided chat logs of her admitting it. It was maybe not all 5, but there was admissions of infidelity.
I think providing chat logs is not a very trustworthy thing to do, anyways. Though.
But he proved he proved the chat logs. Okay, he posted screenshots in the video or in the article in the blog. Then later on, he made a video showing him going through his Facebook page and the chat logs and lining it up with like her profile, so you know that it was her. So,
but is it trustworthy to just provide so much private information?
But he's okay. But okay, hold on. Let me ask you a question. Then let me kind of turn this thing around. What is your thought on the Me Too movement?
I'm gonna get guys. Y'all have a good night.
I think Magog doesn't like it. It makes him leave.
No, Magog.
That's my opinion.
I'm just beat, man. I had like hours of homework and then I had to do a video, so I haven't even finished editing the video, so it'll have to wait until tomorrow. But that's okay. I got to fucking crash. But good talking to you guys, Matt. Good as always.
Yeah, man. I'll definitely we'll definitely have to catch up soon.
Yeah, we'll catch up another time. You guys have fun talking all this stuff.
More or less. We can jump on to another subject matter because we could probably do this all night. But what are your thoughts on the accusations made against men in Hollywood in terms of Me Too?
Can you be more specific?
Well, no. I mean, in general, do you believe the women making the accusations?
Not all of them.
Generally, I believe women.
Okay, well then why don't you believe Aaron?
Why don't I believe Aaron?
Because you're saying you don't believe him, he's not trustworthy, but he's provided evidence that even if it's personal, he's provided evidence of his accusations that can at least verify a bit of that. But yet you support the Me Too movement where we've got anonymous women going and making anonymous claims.
Well, no, but I think it's slightly different because he wrote an entire blog which was like really detailed.
But
about,
but
his
if
relationship with this person,
if Uma Thurman did that like she did today with her post about Harvey Weinstein, is that meant to be not interpreted the same? Are we not meant to be treating people equal and have their stories be believed when they write them down? Like that's what I'm asking. Is just that it kind of feels like you're giving one credit over the other.
Well, no. I honestly do think one accusation is different than like I don't know 35. There is kind of like a difference in numbers. Like when there's one accusation, it's harder to verify than 39 accusations. And with Harvey Weinstein, it's like there's so much shit out there about that guy that's very hard to avoid. Whereas if it's just one person and it's like it could just be a bad breakup and it could be like something negative. I would say I would have the same standard for a woman too. Like if a woman was like, "Oh, I just want to fuck this guy's life over and I'm bitter because something went wrong with our relationship," I would definitely think that that's different than if there's like a fuck ton of women. Like if it's like 20-something women
Well,
saying this
I
guy's
mean, I'm
abusive.
more or less equating it to like a on a person to person basis. But yes, Harvey Weinstein, there's a lot of accusations against him. Let's let's say like the Aziz Ansari situation, right?
Right.
Where that just looked like a date gone wrong. But ultimately it was being used in a way that felt like it was malicious. And you could argue the same thing for Aaron Joney, because Aaron, was writing this out. But at the same time, when it comes to this Me Too movement, we are being told to listen and believe without question. But when it came to Aaron having, been gaslighted by the shots that we saw, the screenshots that we saw, the emotional abuse he went through, the fact that she, it basically like led him on, and then when this came out, she sent a cease and desist, got him, a gag order on him for years in court. That fell through to the point of where then she realized she had lost the entire case. So then she tried to make it go away by saying, oh, I want to drop all charges. I want to do all this. And then Aaron said, no, 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 we're going to see this through, because, that is what I'm talking about, is like her actions surrounding this thing were very peculiar, and over the course of 3 years, almost, it's been 3 years, we've seen her character come forward, and her character feels very much in line with what Aaron was talking about and the type of manipulation that we've seen. And it falls also again. I don't know if you recall the Max Temkin story, the guy who created Cards Against Humanity. A week before Gamergate, like literally a week before it happened, he was accused of sexual assault from a former girlfriend through a Facebook post, and he came out and he apologized for it, or he denied it. And his denial is rumored to be, I don't know how true this is, but his denial is rumored to be written, or at least heavily advised, by Zoe Quinn, because him and her are very tight and very close. And so it's all of these things that, yeah, we can't verify everything, right? But like, we can see enough that this is clearly not a good person. I'm saying it's like, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, was the accusation against Aziz anonymous, or was it?
It was anonymous. Yeah, it was a woman went to a woman by the name of Grace. She didn't give her real name. Went and gave an interview about Aziz, and like, it was a date where they went to dinner, right? They went back to his place. They got naked. They fooled around. They went down on each other. And then she went to the bathroom, came back out, went down on him again, and she hung out with him while she laid her head in his lap while they watched Seinfeld and everything else. But the whole time in her mind, apparently, she's saying, no, this isn't right. So that's the accusation, is that like, it was a bad, it was claims of sexual assault or harassment or whatever, because he wasn't reading her mind, and she never got up to leave, but she still engaged in sexual activity. So you've got, again, these questions that come up of like, how much of this is meant to be perceived as true? How much of this should we look at as being an attack on this person? Can this be believed? And again, all of these things, even in the case of Zoe Quinn and Aaron's blog post, do need to be questioned, and they need to be looked at. But I mean, at the same time, I will fully admit it's a hard, complex, nuanced situation, because who is going to lead that charge? Who's our special investigator here? You know what I mean?
Right. I guess the difficulty is how much of it is a genuine coming forward because you have no choice to do that, and how much of it is just trying to destroy somebody's life because you fucking hate that person. And I felt like when it came to the Zoe Quinn situation, it seemed like he decided to do a blog post spilling out everything about her because he was so aggrieved, and he just hated her, and he wanted to destroy her life because, I've had a bad relationship in my past, and I've been in situations where I wish things were going better, but I never thought I'm going to start a blog and I'm going to start trying to destroy this person's life. Maybe my ex-girlfriend wasn't famous enough for me to be able to find any material on her, but maybe he was like, okay, she is a game developer. She's had a game which has been reviewed by people. This is a very prime opportunity for me to get in there and fuck up her life because I fucking hate her, you know. And I don't know how much of it is like she was particularly abusive and terrible, or just that he was pissed off at her and he hated her, you know. And
well, no,
I
and
don't know why. Like, to what extent
Sorry.
does the public need to know about the stuff that Zoe Quinn did, unless she was literally like some kind of, I don't know, satanic flesh eater or something, you know?
I'm sure to a few people he was definitely considered a satanic flesh eater.
There's also one aspect that a lot of people don't tend to stop to consider, and that is the catharsis aspect of once you start something, once you finally start tugging on that string and it all begins to unravel and the story starts coming out, it flows a lot easier, and it becomes very, very hard to stop because it feels good to finally have that weight lifted off of your chest. It feels like such a relief that a person will want to make sure to get it all out there, to lay it all out for people to see and to hear and hopefully to believe. And sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes a person has ulterior motives, but sometimes a rose is just a rose. Sometimes that is the case where a person just can't stop because they need to get it all out there.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I can't speak to Aaron's motives here because I never sat down with him and talked about the motives. I will say that there was a whirlwind situation that took place as a result of it. I think that's indisputable. And a lot of the time it was people trying to compile information. But as we know, when you have people trying to rapidly compile information based upon internet speculation, a lot of stuff you come across does kind of, feel like it may be, I guess you could say, not the most accurate. Like one of the claims, by the way, and I always find this one to be funny, is one of the claims that Zoe Quinn made was that people leaked her nudes, or that whole claim. And the truth of that matter is, I'm not agreeing with what happened, but the truth of the matter is that the person who put those images out there legally purchased them for $10 from like a Suicide Girls wannabe site where Zoe Quinn had her images hosted. And I always found that to be kind of a funny thing. It's like, like making it seem like, because keep in mind, right at the time that this happened, there was a lot that went down in August 2014, by the way. A lot went down in August because the fappening had just happened. So the wording that was used, leaking my nudes, in congruence with the climate that female, I guess you could say, celebrities are going through at the time. The idea that was put out there was that these were hacked from her computer because her website was hacked, so to speak, or her blog was hacked, things like that, and put out there. Never mind the fact that it was a legal purchase from a website where she had sold these images or been paid for these images from a third party. Again, it's kind of it's a moot point. I'm really bringing it up simply just for factual purposes. Because it's like I said, there's a lot that's gone on. There's a guy right now, his name is the Hat 2. I don't know if you know who he is. Smaller YouTuber, but he's actually he's been doing live streams where he's reading Crash Override, and he's going through it. And he was a journalism student. He was one of the mods of Kotaku in Action when it started, also Tumblr in Action, which is where one of the original on the day after my video came out, the day before that it was taken down, on Tumblr in Action, there was a post about Zoe Quinn and the whole Wizard Chan incident, which if you haven't read up on that, I recommend it. And there was a person in that comment section that was from a group called the Fine Young Capitalists, who make video games out of Canada. And they had worked with Zoe Quinn, and they had a story about how she basically sabotaged the project. And that was like, that was the thing too. That was one of the instances that popped up right before my video went down. And so, like I said, there's lots of people that started coming out right around that time, as a result of this story and the Wizard Chan stuff, and people saying what their experiences are with Zoe Quinn. And I find it to be fascinating that 3 years later, almost to the month, we've got a similar situation, but with sexual assault, sexual abuse. But the people coming out speaking 3 years ago were not believed, and were very much told that they were that they were just bad people. But here it's a different climate entirely. And so I'm not trying to equate it all together. I'm using it merely as an example. It's a complicated mess, Tim. It's a complicated mess, the whole damn thing.
Yes, definitely.
And I'm sure, Sid, you followed it too, right? Or
actually not on the outset. Maybe a few weeks in, I finally started asking, what the hell is this Gamergate thing? And I think it took me more time than I care to admit to finally figure out what the hell was going on and where it all originated from, because it started out as this very contained thing, and it grew so rapidly, and people just started pulling different things in from all over the place so rapidly, and it grew so out of control that if you didn't follow it from the outset, it was very hard to trace back.
That is true. There's a I don't know if there's a definitive timeline. I know like one guy wrote and published an ebook on Amazon about it. I haven't read it. I know there's another journalist that is been talking about putting together a book on it. And originally Milo Yiannopoulos was saying he was going to write a book about it, but that will never come out because it's not profitable to his career right now.
Yeah.
Other people have asked me to write a book about it simply because of being so close to the center at the time. But I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, that's a lot of, like, I don't know if I want to, do that. I'd rather go and like, if anything, if I had to bring it up again, go back through the timeline of events and just like have a video or a stream just talking about it.
Do you think there'll be another Gamergate?
It won't ever be called Gamergate 2.0. People have tried using the label on a couple different controversies, depending on, what's going on. There's one right now in comic book, that they're calling Comicsgate, which feels close to where Gamergate was. I don't feel it's gotten to that point yet of like, maximum saturation to break out into the mainstream. Although it does feel essentially what it is you've got, and I mean, like, the thing is, I don't want to like misrepresent it. I don't know, Sid, do you have a fair grasp on what it is?
Slightly more than passing familiarity, but only because I've been subject to somewhat similar circumstances in some aspects. Basically, from what I gathered, there's a comic book writer that there was some form of interview that I gathered where he was labeled to be some form of white nationalist or something like that, or anti-trans, or some form of "you're a terrible person" floating around, and stuff completely external to his work, and it's getting drug into that. I would have to go back through. It's the difficulty of it being almost 1 o'clock in the morning, trying to recall something that I haven't followed too well is very hard.
It feels again like you have members of the media that are trying to attack critics online for having an opinion against certain comics, which is a lot of what Gamergate started off as.
But I thought Gamergate was just about people sleeping with people.
No. That was,
if no one slept with someone, it's not Gamergate.
Well, that's not. That's actually not ultimately. Like I said, there's a timeline here. What you're referring to essentially is the Quinspiracy. And the Quinspiracy is what people were referring to the whole Zoe's Quinn scandal leading up to August 27th or 28th, 2014. Now, what happened was you had a bunch of people. Okay, so this again, going right back to the beginning here. So you had my video get struck down at around 8 o'clock in the morning on August the 18th. Then that same day, you had people talking about the Zoe post on Reddit on our gaming, which it clearly wasn't necessary for our gaming, but people were talking about it there. Well, then there's a journalist by the name of Patrick Klepek, who at the time was working for, I believe, Giant Bomb. And he and Zoe Quinn are solid friends. Like, they'd been on panels together earlier in 2014. They're tight. Well, there were tens of thousands of people having comments on this particular subject matter on our gaming. It was a big thing. Well, Patrick, and this is all public. This happened on Twitter, that he went to his buddy who happened to be one of the moderators of our gaming and basically set it up to where that dude deleted tens of thousands of comments. And you know, at a time, he's just laying this thread to waste. And that was viewed as mass censorship. Whether or not it was appropriate for that subreddit or not, the sheer amount of deletions instead of just locking the thread really angered the community. This got the attention of Total Biscuit, and Total Biscuit started talking about it. And I think that's one of the things also that brought in other journalists. Well, a couple days after that, you had the what we call the Gamers Are Dead articles, which was, I think, about 14 different publications, all in the span of one day, published roughly the same article, which all basically said gamers are over, gamers no longer have to be your audience. And that was the title of the article, I want to say, on Gama Sutra by Leigh Alexander. Now, Leigh Alexander is notorious, you know, feminist online, whatever. Not a lot of people like her. And she posted that, and then it spread. And that's when somebody tweeted at Adam Baldwin the videos that that Mr. Medicare, or at the time he was known as Internet Aristocrat, had done. And Adam Baldwin quote tweeted that and just used the hashtag Gamergate. Now, Adam Baldwin, the thing is, though, that wasn't a significant thing at the time. Baldwin likes to just hashtag things. He just makes up hashtags. But this one stuck. And that is when Gamergate as a whole blew up, and it moved away from Zoe Quinn and became about ethics in video game journalism, because they were looking at this like collusion between journalists trying to shout down audiences of enthusiast press, right? It just felt very weird. Then weeks later, it was discovered that there was a Game Journal pros list where journalists from competing outlets were all cozy, buddy with one another, talking about you know, how to better handle this Zoe Quinn situation, going as far as to suggest that they all put together in a fund to send her flowers and well wishes, right? And it was just, it showed this level of, I guess you could call it like the deep state of games journalism, collusion and whatnot. And that just made it blow up even worse, because now people felt like they were being lied to, that they're being manipulated by their favorite outlets. And that just kept going and compounding. And it just, as I said, there was a lot that went on back then, right? Just it was like every day there was new shit happening. Ops running 24/7, getting what was it? Gawker to lose all their advertisements was one of the ops that worked. I mean, like it got crazy, dude. It got fucking crazy.
I feel like maybe it's something to do with normies or something, but the majority of people would not understand that. They would just think, this is a movement to attack Zoe Quinn, who she slept with.
Well, see, I get that. I get that, because that is the narrative that was put forward. That is,
well, that's just what like the general populace would think it was. And I understand that. Like, I found out that Gamergate was about more than just harassing women and stuff. But like, when I first saw the whole movement, I was like, okay, it's basically Zoe Quinn slept with some dude, and someone else didn't like it, so he wrote a blog post about it saying that she's a bitch and that she's a whore, and then it turned into this whole fucking movement or whatever. And then some other people came along and they were like, it's more than that. It's not just about Zoe Quinn being a bitch. But from the outside, like, I guess it's kind of looked like that. You know?
No, I get that. I do understand that. And keep in mind, that was also something that they very much wanted to make sure happened. Yeah. Because it was able to then deflect from what people were legitimately saying. As much as I am not a fan of Breitbart News, and I am not a fan of Breitbart News, Breitbart was the only outlet that even remotely came in to give our side a fair shake. The downside,
but they may have seen an opportunity. Like,
you know, it definitely was opportunist, as we've learned over the years.
These
you
are
know,
some people that we can appeal to, and they
can
I
agree.
Part of our.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, no, I agree. I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it. You have no idea how much I hate that shit. I don't like being played, and I feel like I was played by Breitbart. I was played by Milo, and I'm actually pretty upset about that.
He's a tech editor. What does he know about tech?
He ran like some website, but now I don't know. Now he's off doing his own thing. He might actually be coming.
Like he can actually code and stuff, like for real.
I don't know. I'm not too sure. I mean, we've talked once and stuff. He's actually supposedly trying to come out to Evergreen State College, which is about 4 miles from where I live. So
Mm-hmm.
if he comes out this way, I'm going to go down there, fucking cameras on, man. Like, let's film some shit. These people are crazy. But yeah, I'm just saying, it's like, you've got, the situation with Breitbart coming in and Milo doing things, but a lot of Gamergaters kind of revere Milo because he gave him a fair shake. Even though we now know that Bannon sent him in order to, I think, drum up support and whatever, as kind of as a side move. And that bothers me because I feel like then it was not real. Because, I mean, and I don't know how weird this is to say, but like, because of the events of Gamergate, because of my part in the beginning, it was very real to me the entire time it was happening. And I've gotten into arguments with people now for years about like the tenets of Gamergate. Oh, it was about fighting leftist culture. Like, no, it's not. Like, most people that are in Gamergate, when given the political test, are like left. Most of them are just like libertarian.
From everything I had initially garnered from Gamergate, obviously the perception and everything has shifted since then. But everything I had garnered from then was, it was centered around ethics and ethical standards within games journalism.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to ask. Like, what the hell is ethics in gaming journalism?
It's like ethics in any other kind of journalism.
Well, it's basically like fair disclosure. If you have an involvement with a person and then you write a piece or a review or any form of article about their product and you have a personal relationship with that person, then that relationship should be disclosed because it does create a bias there.
Oh, but that's the thing. Can't you tell whether a game is shit? I certainly can.
It doesn't.
If I play a game and the game.
Okay, well, I'll give you a prime
the
example.
Journalist lied to me. This game sucks.
Well, I'll give you a prime example. There's a journalist over at Kotaku by the name of Patricia Hernandez. Patricia Hernandez was writing favorable, like not just like favorable coverage of a game. It was basically like implying you should go buy it. It wasn't a review, but it was like really super favorable coverage. Like, and it was found out that the person that had made that video game that she was writing about was not only her roommate, but her girlfriend. And she did not disclose that she was bumping uglies with this person, of which she is using a platform that gets 40 million people a month that read.
But
how is that not ethical? How is that not something that can be called out?
But can't you tell when a game sucks?
It doesn't matter if it sucks. If they're trying to pitch it to sell, if they're trying to use their platform to sell you a product.
Always, like, if you talk to other people who play games, they'll be like, "That it sucks. Like, it's a shit game. It's terrible." Anytime I've talked to a gamer about another game, they will tell you the truth. They'll tell you if it's good, or they'll tell you if it's terrible. Well, how could you pretend whether a game's good? Like, people will be able to tell.
It happens more often than you might realize. It really does.
Well, I think
people obfuscate and try and promote a game, whether it's good or not, all the damn time. It happens constantly, and they do it for very personal reasons, and they do it a lot of the times for personal gain. Like for a while, there was actually a problem on YouTube with people producing sponsored videos and sponsored reviews of games without even disclosing the sponsorships. And there was who was it? I think it wasn't Maker. It was somebody though.
Was it? It wasn't Maker. It might have been Full Screen.
Maybe where they had some form of large sponsorship deal.
Was it Machinima?
I think so. Where they were directly asking people not to disclose the sponsorship or requiring them not to disclose the sponsorship, which is that contravenes the federal
it's an
law.
FTC violation, is what it is.
How much can you tell that's corruption, or just the reviewers having bad taste? Because a lot of times I've seen games get really positive reviews, but when I've played the game, it's been kind of shit. But I've also noticed it in the reverse direction when they've rated something poorly and I've enjoyed it. So, like, how much can you tell it's corruption? How much can you tell it's just like poor taste on behalf of the reviewers.
Were they given something? Were they provided something in return for their coverage? Were they provided money? Were they given a brand new Xbox to play the game on? See, that's the sort of thing that no one was disclosing that sort of thing. And in games journalism for years, it was common practice to, kind of wine and dine traditional games journalists to be able to get them to produce positive coverage for your games, not necessarily reviews, but coverage.
So is it just like something's unethical when you check it out and you actually look into the details of it? Because besides that, you wouldn't know. You just
in many cases, this is where a lot of people dug up a lot of stuff. So what you have to realize here is that when it comes to video game journalism and independent video game development, so the indie game scene, it's all located in San Francisco, right? Like GameSpot, IGN, like Giant Bomb, a number of these large gaming websites are all located there inside of San Francisco. And the indie gaming scene is all there too. So these people, they end up getting to know one another. They end up becoming friends with one another. They end up, it becomes kind of a symbiotic relationship where the journalists can talk about the games for content for their website, so they get paid. And then the developers get the press, which then could possibly lead to potential sales from that. So so the thing is, in many cases, you're not going to be able, I think, to 100% keep an objective mind in that particular environment, because you're going to know these people. And they've talked about this because these people also, by the way, they go on Twitter, right? They post photos of themselves with like journalists, with game developers, not just once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times. They go to all these parties together. They all know each other. And that makes the situation a lot more muddied. Now, I think Sid would kind of agree with me here. A lot of this problem would simply go away if they would just say, disclosure, I'm friends with this person. Right? Like just something as simple.
And that's all you need. I mean, take a look at my channel. I mean, I did a sponsored video just a few days ago. It's in the title. It's in the description. It's got the YouTube flag on it. It's mentioned verbally within the first 30 seconds of the video and multiple times throughout the entire video. And to wrap it up, it was reminded that it was a sponsored video. You have to be completely blind and deaf to avoid the fact that that was a sponsored video.
I know. I watched it. I still think you were lying about being sponsored.
But I mean,
and anytime I disclose anytime I even get a
you were fucking code for about that on Twitter beforehand. Like I could sense your anxiety about that.
Because the sense of the sense of impropriety there can be so strong that even if you know a person. And I've done this. I know this person, so I disclose that. I'm friends with this person. I disclose that. I received something for this. I received review code or something like this, or I received code to give away to people. Even if it's not something that I gain directly, I benefit from being able to pass something along. And therefore, that should be disclosed, because even if it's small, even if it might be imperceptible, and even if I might feel like I can trust myself to maintain an objective standpoint, the fact is, there is a potential for a personal bias there, and it has to be disclosed to be fair to the consumer.
But I guess the thing for me is, like, how do you know that that's the reason that somebody rated something that way? Like, how do you know it's corruption?
You don't. You ultimately don't. Right. But what it does is it takes everything you have said and it puts this fog on it, right? And then the consumer, of which you're supposed to be reporting to accurately and fairly and objectively, if they don't know this and something comes out, like, they're trusting you to be fair and to be honest. And if you aren't, then you're kind of, you're leading the consumer astray, and you're basically lying to them, even if it's a lie by omission.
But doesn't that create a problem for Gamergate, in that ethics in game journalism becomes a very vague thing, which is hard to know?
I don't see how it's a hard thing. It's a very straightforward. It's like, okay,
it is, but it's hard to know which journalist is corrupt. Like, which journalist just has really shitty taste and thinks this fucking terrible game is awesome because they're an idiot, and which person is doing that because they have a personal relationship with somebody. I think it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's hard. But the point is that should be disclosed to put that decision making, because it's always going to be an individual thing. And even with producing any form of anything revolving video games or anything or movies, Matt would agree with that. You know, anytime you relate information, it's going to have your own personal spin on it, and that is basically an op-ed piece at best. And because of that, you know, everyone has to kind of take things into their own light, and people have to form their own opinions based on what they're provided with, and they can either choose to accept that and take it into consideration or ignore it. And everyone should be able to make that own choice for themselves. The fact is that if you fail to disclose, they aren't given that option. They don't know. And it can lead to some very shady activity. And whether or not it is shady, they won't know because you didn't disclose. You didn't give them that opportunity to make that decision for themselves.
So I think this is the right person. I had the movie guide by Leonard Moulton. I think that's the guy, right? Moulton, like the movie reviewer guy.
That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Well, it's a whole fucking like dictionary kind of thing with like all of these movies in it. And then he gave Scarface 2 out of 4. And I was like, this is ridiculous. How could you give Scarface 2 out of 4? And I kind of feel like maybe there wasn't some ethics in his film reviewing because like someone must have paid him or something, or how could he said it was an ugly movie that was badly filmed. There's no way.
It's not that good of a movie. Corrupt. We can discuss that later.
Oh, come on, no way. It's at least 3 out of 4.
Okay, hold on. I do want to. There have been a couple super chats that I missed. I do want to quickly address them because we just got one in. K-pop lover 178 just says, "I got bit by a mouse and as I was sleeping. What do I do? I don't know.
Bite it back.
Yeah, bite it back, or pour some hydrogen peroxide. If you got rabies, go to the hospital. If it starts to swell up, go to the hospital, I guess." And then something redundant just posted. And this is in regards to the Gamergate situation. Plugging a game without disclosing a sponsorship is deceiving your customer base. It creates a false pretenses for buying, almost like a pump dump scam, which I agree with. And I think that's ultimately what we in Gamergate were trying to prevent from happening. And just to go back to that point, one of the things that I was kind of getting to was these people that know each other are very open about knowing each other. And so that made it very easy for diggers to go and dive in to their history to determine whether or not there were problems. And you'd be amazed at how many people had to retroactively update their old articles because these elements of non-disclosure were called out and possible conflicts of interest. And that is basically what it boiled down to. You've got the Society of Professional Journalists that held an event in Miami in early 2015 that was all about Gamergate. Milo was there. Christina Hoff Summers were there. A few other people like Kathy Young, Alam Bakari, they were there discussing the ethical nature of why this is needed. And that to many people kind of signified the end of Gamergate, because when you get this SPJ and their code of ethics on your side, that's pretty much what people wanted. And that's, I think, a very fair thing to want. You want not to be lied to when you're reading about stuff you want to purchase. And so I sent Bering an invite. I don't know if he's going to come on in. I need to go get a bottle. So you guys continue talking. Scarface was the last place we dropped off. So
Bering. Why?
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I totally fucking, I didn't realize. I'm so sorry. Barry, if I see you in the chat. If you come in, you better be good.
I forgive you. You have a child. So you can do no wrong, because you have to grow up and raise the kids to be better than us.
Yeah. It's virtually impossible, but you try.
Well, one thing I want to ask is, do they now have ethics in gaming journalism? Has it restored?
To some extent. I mean, you still see so much nonsense, but it was at a point in time where, it was a common joke that, games journalists would be paid ridiculous amounts of money just to talk about a game. and not even, like I said, not even review it, but just talk about it, just to, plug it on their sites. And, it was very common to, go, the Games Journalist Awards was a thing that you saw. It was basically corruption at its finest. And I think it's better now. I think anytime the consumer, the end users, the customers are able to be provided with more information about something, then they're able to make a more informed decision, and that's always better for them. So while you never know how extensive it is until someone starts digging into it, it's one of those things where the whole Gamergate movement swept out a lot of the cobwebs, and it may not have gotten everything, and I'm sure it didn't right the ship, as it were, but it did shine a light on a lot of some of the worst aspects of it.
Right. It's kind of like, I guess people take gaming journalism a lot more seriously than I do. Because I don't know how seriously I take it. Like, I look for a decent review so that I know whether I want to try a game. Like, if it's got over 8% or 8 out of 10, 8%, that's pretty low. 8 out of 80%. I'm like, okay, I'll give the game a go. I'll give it a try. But if it's too low, then I won't try the game. And I guess that's the importance of reviews. If it's over a certain number, like people.
Well, the importance of reviews, the importance of critique is to be able to provide the consumer information before they buy it, to be able to let them know what the game is like, what the game's mechanics are, and nowadays with loot boxes and all sorts of other microtransaction muckery infesting everything, it's growing to the point where one has to start considering the actions of the developer, not necessarily in relation to the game, and whether.
But do you think the ratings really important? Like the numbers.
Ratings are ratings are important to the corporations. Ratings as numbers and everything like that are completely arbitrary, and a lot of them are heavily influenced by. A lot of them are heavily influenced by GameSpy. And all of that, I mean, basically the entire rating system, the 0 to 10, which is basically now 7 to 10. Basically, if it'll load up and you get a logo, then it's an automatic 7 with a lot of those games journalists.
Seriously?
Most of them don't have a fair 0 to 10 scale. Most of them, and it's all based off of the GameSpy functionality, where GameSpy was bought by the parent company of GameStop. And they used it to be able to plug their own merchandise and to be able to drive sales with the review systems. And that has spread out to the rest of the larger games critic industry, as it were, because it is a sort of an industry. And because a lot of that's why you see games that, you'll see user reviews of like 30-40%, but the critic reviews are 10 out of 10 game of the year. Well,
like, how reliable do you think the game reviews are by the website? Because I often look at the user reviews, and that's sometimes a very good way of finding out whether something's good. And it's the same with movies. Sometimes you've got movie reviews which are like average 5.6% or something. But I look at the user reviews; they're like 7 or 8.
And but when I see the movie, what does that metric mean? What does that metric even mean? What ratings are they scoring that by? Everyone has a personal, arbitrary system, and just like with everything else, it's going to be highly subjective. And when you're looking at a rating system like that, people start to tend to get this impression in their heads of a standardization and a normalcy where, in fact, none actually exists.
But unlike Metacritic, I think it's Metacritic, or yes, it is. I generally won't watch things that are red. I feel like it's red. It's like 3 or 4 out of 10. Fuck that thing.
Are you talking like fan reviews or like or critical?
Oh, I guess we're talking about. There's a difference, I guess, between the professional reviews and the user reviews. So, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes there's a conflict between those.
Which, to be fair,
the review is good and the user is shit, or vice versa. Like
to be fair, on the
user is
opposite
good.
side of the fence, there will a lot of the times be a disparity between the user reviews and the critic reviews for very different reasons. Because one thing that a lot of people tend to not consider is critics, no matter what they are critiquing, whether be it video games or movies or anything like that, they are subjected to a lot, just a lot of stuff. Where I will look at 10, 20, maybe 30 games in a week, whereas a person might be looking to buy a game like 1, 2, maybe 5 a month, and so you're subjected to a lot more. And because of that, you become very accustomed to spotting things or kind of dulled to some things that someone might find fantastic, you find mundane because you've seen it 50 times over the course of the past 2 months, to where your impressions will be different than someone who hasn't been exposed to that much information.
I don't know. I personally think a lot of those guys are just bitter and fucking cynical. And the reason why I say that is a lot of them
cynical.
Oh yeah, no, I watch your videos. No, I do love your work, by the way. So,
thank you.
Ultimately, based on what I've seen when it comes to like movies, especially because I've worked in LA, I've worked in the system. A lot of these critics, they see a lot of movies. Yeah, I can see your point, Sid, on that one. But at the same time, a lot of them, especially in gaming, they got their degree in writing or they got their degree in journalism, and the only job they could get was at a gaming website. And that is where a lot of these guys got their start. And so just imagine you go to school to be the next, next great journalist, and you end up getting a job at a gaming site. I
think the moral of the story is just that most people fail. And that's the point of life, is just to fail and die. I'm sorry to disappoint the audience. That's just my opinion. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm saying it
wasn't very deep.
There's a lot of I'll watch when it comes to, let's say, Marvel movies versus the DC movies, right? Like there are a lot of people out there that hate the DC movies for multiple reasons, and they're probably right. The movies have had hit or misses, obviously, but the bloggers, they praise Marvel. Everything Marvel does is grand, and everything DC does is trash. And it's been an ongoing thing now for what feels like 5 years since, so there is a big pushback between critics and the fans at this point. We've seen this. Look at the Rotten Tomatoes score for the Star Trek Discovery, right? Critics love it. Audience score, terrible. You go to the Orville. The Orville has a really low critical rating, but a really high audience rating.
I love the Orville.
Why do people hate Discovery?
It
doesn't capture the essence of what a lot of people, myself included, feel that Star Trek is all about.
People are very critical of Star Trek, though. Like they have very strong expectations.
Oh, absolutely.
What it's supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's only two things that ever lived up to it: the original
Discovery
Star Trek and the one with Patrick Stewart.
I should rephrase, because I was saying I hate Discovery. I don't hate Discovery. I hate that it's Star Trek.
Okay, I can understand that argument.
I think it's a wonderful sci-fi show. I don't like that it's Star Trek.
Whereas the Orville should be Star Trek.
Yeah.
That's got the new generation, right? So the one besides the original and the new generation, or what the hell's it called? The latest generation?
No, it was
how good I am at Star Trek.
Star Trek, the original series, Star Trek, the Next Generation, Star Trek, Deep Space Nine,
right,
which at the time was just made to compete with Babylon.
And there are no other Star Trek series ever.
You want to? Oh, come on, dude! First season.
Wait, so the original Star Trek and the Generation one are the only Star Treks people like, right? And everything else is
a lot of people really love DS9. A lot of people.
Deep Space Nine was fantastic.
Losers like DS9
because Cisco was a great captain, and
Cisco was amazing.
The characters are really solid. Like, I'm not a huge DS9 fan. Like, the show never really gripped me, but I did really like the characters.
Star Treks.
I'm sorry.
But there's 2.5 Star Treks. There's Star Treks, Star Trek's. I don't know why I made it plural. Next Generation and DS9 says 2.5 Star Treks because Star Trek DS9 is a 0.5. It's like okay, and everything else is shit. Is that how it works? Yes.
I mean, a lot of people didn't really care for Voyager later on, or we're getting baby talk.
Enterprise got a really bad rap for what they did with the time traveling and the theme song.
Yeah,
they were like a black guy and a woman. Fuck this series. And now it's a black woman, isn't it? So it's just got an even more, just a PC or whatever.
I don't care about any of that. Like I never gave.
To me, they're just people.
Yeah, that's one of the things. That's one of the things I really hate about being critical of Star Trek DS or of Star Trek Discovery, is because it's like, no, I actually kind of like the characters. I actually really like. I know Doug Jones personally. I've worked with him on a few projects, and so seeing Doug Jones as Saru is always good. I always love watching that man work.
I thought Doug Jones was like a senator or something. Or...
No, that's a senator out of Alabama. The actor Doug Jones.
Oh damn. It's two Doug Jones.
Yeah, I know, but only one of them matters, and that's the one that I know.
Okay.
But no, I mean, he's an actor. He's been in a bunch of movies. You ever see Hellboy?
No, but I've heard of it and seen pictures.
All right. Well, he was like Abe Sapien, the blue guy in Hellboy. He was in, oh man, like a lot of stuff. He's been like Buffy. He's been on TV. He's been okay. Do you ever remember like the Moon Man, McDonald's commercials from the early 90s?
What happened in those?
Oh God.
Sid, do you remember those?
Vaguely.
It was like the Moon Man playing the piano on top of a house.
Oh my God. So vaguely.
It's actually an alt-right white supremacist meme now. They've turned it into that. But that was Doug Jones. And and Fry Guy Zero in the chat says he's the monster in the shape of water. Or if you saw Pan's Labyrinth,
he's doing a great job in the Senate. Either way.
But basically it's like, you know, what the thing that I really hate is when it comes to the criticism or the backlash to the criticism of Star Trek Discovery, when you look at like a lot of the more progressive blogs, their point of contention is, oh, somebody said they don't like a black woman in the lead. Clearly that's a problem. Everyone who's critical of the show just hates black people. And it's like, wait, what? No, like what? It's the same thing with Ghostbusters.
I don't only hate black people.
And I'm sure some of them do. Oh my God.
Was that,
oh my God.
That one website Chelsea, that said finally.
Chelsea, did you seriously bring up Sockboy 4? You brought up Sockboy 4. That's fucking awesome. That's fucking awesome. Sorry. It's an old web series that Doug Jones was on. And it popped out like, oh God, in 2008. So yeah, sorry.
He cut up to a lot of shit before he joined the Senate.
Well, you know, hey man,
God,
everyone's got to get to start somewhere, right? Everyone's got to get to start somewhere. But I mean, no, it's like, okay, look at the backlash to Ghostbusters 2016. That movie was bad. Like, it's just bad.
The movie was so bad.
But if you went and criticized it, it was like, no, now you're a sexist because you're criticizing this movie starring women. It's like, no, the movie sucked. I don't care about the people.
Yeah.
But a lot of people took that criticism seriously, like saying you're a sexist or whatever. But I never noticed the criticism. I just ignored it. I don't care.
Well, what it was,
sexist, I don't give a shit.
I think the best way to describe it ultimately is you've got to look at it from the perspective of who is pushing the division. And in the case of Ghostbusters, there was the first trailer, which was like, 30 years ago, 4 scientists saved the city. And it's like, no, they weren't scientists. Zedmore was your everyday average guy. That was your everyman. That was that character, the normal guy.
Okay. I'll believe whatever you want as long
whatever
as
whatever you want. And then it wasn't until like I think the video game, which is now no longer canon, by the way, as confirmed by Ivan Reitman, is that he went back to school and he ended up getting his degree after Ghostbusters 2. So anyway, you've got that whole thing. The fans reacted like no, you're changing canon right off the bat, but never mind. This is supposed to be a reboot. It's not a sequel, but you're referencing a film from 30 years ago. This makes no sense. And that was a big part of it. And then the response from a lot of the online movie bloggers was, oh, they're just hating it because it's women and whatever. And it's like, no, there's lots of problems with it. And then the studio got involved and started backing the sexist narrative as a way to deflect from valid criticism. Never mind the fact that like Melissa McCarthy went on the Jimmy Kimmel show and basically said that all critics were just guys who still lived in their mom's basements, you know? And it's like, they kept playing the card. They kept thinking that was going to get them, what they wanted, you know, but the movie bloggers, they were out there defending the film constantly from any kind of criticism. And that was where a lot of the pushback came.
It probably got the more attention though, right? I mean,
yeah, but it didn't help. The movie bombed.
Yeah.
Did it?
I mean, this was
bombed. What do you mean bombed? Like critically or like, financially?
Financially. Critically, it was certified. This is where you get into like whole Rotten Tomatoes and the fact that their score is bullshit. It was given a certified fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The movie had a 66%, right, on Rotten Tomatoes, and they gave it a certified fresh. And
I fell asleep
during the movie.
Towards the end, so I didn't see the ending because
you missed the cutout dance sequence, which is in the end credits.
Oh god, the thriller sequence.
It wasn't a very good.
Is that what
movie.
it was? Thriller?
Yes.
It wasn't Thriller. It was something else. But yeah, it's basically the same thing.
But I feel like maybe I should have thought it was a good movie because apparently I'm more on the feminist side because of my associations. So
no. That's the thing is I took my girlfriend to go see it at the first screening, right? The Thursday night preview, because you know, people are giving me a hard time. They're like, "Oh, you've crapped on this movie forever. Why are you going to go see it?" I'm all like, "Because I've crapped on the movie. I owe it to not only my audience to go see it and give an actual give an actual
disprove you, like it could prove you to be a liar."
Yeah, or you know, and I think like for one, I kind of owe it to the filmmaker to give him a shot. And so I went in, believe it or not, I went into that movie and I was like, please don't suck, please don't suck, please don't suck. Starts off like the opening scene in the haunted mansion. I'm like, oh, that was actually kind of good. I really enjoy the opening of the movie. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, am I wrong? Was I wrong this entire time? Is this actually going to be okay? And I let myself for like a brief moment actually get excited to watch the movie. And then it cuts to the queef joke like 2 minutes later. And I'm like, nope, I'm out.
Close-minded. You should have given it more time.
I did suffer through the entire thing, my first sitting. And I was hoping it's like, well, maybe it won't be as bad as everyone has made it out to be, because that would be great to be surprised that, hey, it doesn't suck after all. That would be fantastic. No. Sucked on every conceivable level.
But I thought that the suckiness of the movie was not special. It was just a regular sucky Hollywood movie.
Well, my biggest complaint
it's just a regular boring movie.
It's like Star Trek Discovery, right? Call it anything other than Ghostbusters, and it might be passable for a film.
It would have still been, in my opinion, it would have still been entirely mediocre on every level, Ghostbusters. But yeah, if it wasn't the Ghostbusters brand, then it would have been at least palatable.
Well, and the worst part,
I enjoyed Ghostbusters as a kid, but it didn't define my childhood.
No, of course not.
A lot of people's childhoods were defined by this film.
No,
but I feel like I discovered that. A lot of people were like Ghostbusters. It's my childhood. They're destroying my youth. And I was like, I never felt like it was my youth in particular.
What I recommend, Tim, is have you heard of a channel called Midnight's Edge?
No.
They do a lot of movie breakdowns, and they did a lot on Ghostbusters. Like you can find out about the plot line to the movie from the 2014 Sony leak.
Mm-hmm.
And like that was a big part. It's like you find out that, you know, the plot line to the film was basically what we got in that leak. And they broke down quite a lot of it, a lot of the, you know, the criticism and whatnot and everything. And so my biggest complaint with the movie is that they stopped kind of dead in their tracks every 15 minutes or so to remind you that you're watching a Ghostbusters movie. The analogy that I used was that they pulled nostalgia out of their ass and crammed it down our throats. and it made no
Right.
sense. Like it wasn't stuff that really tied into the overall.
How do you mean? Like, what did they do?
Okay, so it's kind of like they would stop and go like, oh, like they go to the fire station, right? They go, oh, like how much does this place cost? 22,000 a month. Oh, fuck you, right? And then it's like, oh, they're no longer in the fire station, but they had to go there first. Now they're above a Chinese restaurant, so Abby can get unlimited dumplings, but they still screw up her order even though she's 5 feet away. And then not only that, but they go and they go to the the music hall to catch the first ghost, and the guy who played Stewart on Mad TV, Michael McDonald, I think his name is, he's there. And if you go and you watch his mannerisms and even the dialogue he uses, it is almost identical to the manager of the hotel from the first Ghostbusters when they go meet Slimer. And
don't a ton of movies do that though?
No. But I'm talking like the mannerisms were down to the same. Like even the whole turning around and like saying, "Come on," like, okay, girl, it's okay.
But I mean, I just watched Alien Covenant, which is like a prequel Alien movie, but it's after Prometheus.
Yeah,
and
I'm sorry you watched it. It wasn't very good.
Well, it's got all of the bits from like the previous Alien movies, like when he's leaning over to look into the weird thing that sticks out. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like a big protrusion, and then the face hugger comes out of it or whatever, and he leans over to look into it, and I'm like, that's what happened in the first Alien movie. If you go look at that protrusion thing, a face hugger is gonna jump on your face, and then it does. I'm like, oh.
So what you're saying is Ridley Scott is a hack director.
Well, I'm just saying that like a lot of movies do that kind of thing. Like they do these throwbacks, and I'm sure that like I don't know if you watched the later Terminator movies or there's bound to be other ones. The Blade Runner movie.
But in Ghostbusters, it was like the callbacks were apparent. Like they were like not even like little subtle nods. It was. Like Bill Murray plays, he basically plays Walter Peck, right?
Well, even like X-Men 1, the first X-Men movie, when he's like, when Wolverine puts on his fucking costume, and he's like, that looks pretty good, and he's like, what did you expect? Yellow spandex? And they're all like, ha 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 ha. And it's like a throwback.
That's an Easter egg, though. That was done in a way that was fitting to the moment at hand.
Yeah, but that's also how many of those style references were in the X-Men movie. Not many. Whereas, in like the Ghostbusters, it was literally in your face every 30 seconds.
I feel like you'd probably have to be looking for it and know what you're looking for,
Well,
because I don't know what I'm looking. I don't read the X-Men comics enough to know what I'm looking for.
Well, with X-Men, a lot of it also had to do with the fact that they still use the same theme song from the 1990s animated series, which I thought was a cool little addition.
Also,
right,
best animated theme song ever.
Sometimes it's cool and sometimes it's annoying and shitty. Because I'm sure in the later Terminator movies as well, there was some throwbacks to the previous Terminator movies. Where he's like, get down,
no.
Some crap.
Okay, I will take no in Terminator Genesis from 2015. Yes, there was, but that actually served a purpose to the plot.
Oh, when he's like, "Give me your clothes."
Yeah, like that was what like, that was. Is it was literally recreating the scene from the movie in order to then have like an alternate timeline interact with it. So while there was a callback, it was for the explicit purpose of furthering the story.
No, I feel like that was pretty pandering because I remember being in the cinema and him saying, "Give me your clothes," and all the people in the cinema laughing and smiling and being like, "Oh yeah."
Well, that was in Terminator 2. Yeah, that was a throwback to Terminator 2.
No, Terminator 3, I think it was. Yeah.
Well, I think that's kind of a staple for all the films. Like when he goes back, like when he goes back in time, he's going to be naked. Like number 3 was. I think a lot of people like to forget number 3 exists.
Yeah, but why is it different when it's the Ghostbusters movie?
Because Ghostbusters is a reboot. It's not meant to be a continuation of the story. So having things be cyclical in the franchise that's continuing a story kind of makes a little bit more sense than saying like, oh, this is an entirely new cast, an entirely new story. Oh, by the way, we're still going to pull nostalgia constantly,
Right.
Like when the fact is they start the movie and it plays the Ray Parker Jr. song, right? Like
I just think the issue is that I don't know of any particular series that won't do that, so long as it's been going on for a while. You know, like they'll always be like, "Hey, this is a reference to that thing you saw in the previous 3 movies ago, or like 4 movies ago, or whatever." You know, depending on how long it is.
no, I get that. I get that. I think probably one of my biggest things with Ghostbusters is that Paul Feig is a subversive comedy director, right? You look at Bridesmaids, it's a rip on Hangover, right? And those kind of raunchy films, as well as a good, like sister comedy sort of thing. You look at Spy. Spy is clearly a take on Tango and Cash and Lethal Weapon movies and those kind of Shane Black, buddy cop films from the 80s and 90s. And it worked for what it was trying to do. And then you look at Spy, and Spy is clearly making fun of the James Bond trope, spy movie genre, and that was pretty good. So what you have are 3 films that are successful by a subversive comedian director who then took that and put it onto an established franchise reboot that just did not play. Because the thing with Ghostbusters 1984 versus Ghostbusters 2016 is that it wasn't it was a comedy, but it wasn't played like a comedy. It was a straightforward movie. Everything that they did was very straightforward. It was a workman, blue collar comedy is I think the best way to describe it. And I think you'll agree with me.
Oh, absolutely. And they worked so much nuance and detail into that movie. Like they were learning the ropes as they went along.
Yeah.
And it was, it wasn't ham fisted, but it did have a little bit of a sly aspect. Like when they were first tallying up the bill and, they're looking over like, what do we charge for the thing? And he holds up and like rubs his shoulder with 3 fingers for, 3,000. And so, that sort of thing is an example to the levels of detail and the levels of nuance they worked into that movie. It wasn't just a comedy. It definitely had a little something for a lot of different people. And that's why it works so well as a movie. And that's why so many people love it, because it wasn't just a ghost movie. It wasn't just a goofy adventure flick. It wasn't just a comedy. It was a combination of so many different things that this new Ghostbusters was just lazy slapstick.
I will say this though. The best thing about Ghostbusters 2016 is that it retroactively made Ghostbusters 2 a good movie.
Yeah.
And I say this as a person who has always loved Ghostbusters 2. So like I've always loved it. It's not as good as the first movie, but you can't tell me that Bobby Brown track at the end is not banging.
Absolutely.
I didn't know Ghostbusters 2 was not considered as good.
It's not.
It's not.
To many people, it's not. It's Vigo the Carpathian. But I'm just saying, it's like
that guy's so good at acting.
Buzzing of flies to him.
He's so over the top. You gotta love him. He's in He's also in Addams Family Values, whatever. And some other stuff. He's in Ellie McBeal, I think. The guy.
But Peter McNichol.
He's also in fucking Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Yes, yeah. He was.
Oh my god!
No, I'm sorry. That's not the last Mel Brooks movie.
Really.
The last Mel Brooks movie was Robin Hood Men in Tights. We don't talk about Dracula Dead and Loving It.
It's not good, but I'm gonna pretend that it is.
It's I need to go back and watch it again. It's been like 20 years.
I miss
where I can quote Men in Tights. I can quote Spaceballs.
Fucking Naked Gun, whatever.
Naked Gun was great.
My favorite bit is when he's
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 173 shots or 174?
My actual favorite scene in that movie is when he parks his car and forgets to put the brake on, so he gets out of his car and his car takes off, and he's looking down the road. He's sees his car careening off, and he's like, "Stop! Wait, stop!" And then he gets out his gun and starts shooting his own car, and it blows up. He's like, "That'll show him." I
love that part in the movie when
his own car is gone, and he's like, "Oh shit!"
You gotta love the part when they encounter the student driver, and the instructor tells her, "Raise your left hand Now extend your middle finger.
Oh my god, it's been so many years since I saw any of those movies.
I know.
But reality killed him.
I always enjoyed those. I enjoyed the first two. The third one was just not very good.
It had some good bits.
You know what's interesting though is you have there's Airplane and Naked Gun were both directed by the Zucker brothers. And in 2005, there's a movie called My Boss's Daughter starring Ashton Kutcher. I don't know if you guys have seen that one, but it was actually directed by Danny Zucker, which even though it's an Ashton Kutcher movie, I do highly recommend it because it was actually a well done comedy. It felt it didn't feel as slapstick, but there's a lot of those elements that were brought in.
Actually, no, I never saw that.
I used to work at a drive-in movie theater, so I saw a lot of movies that I saw a lot of movies a lot of times.
Although
too many times.
No, you take a stab in the dark. Just take a stab in the dark at how many times I've seen Pirates of the Caribbean. Just take a wild guess.
7 million.
Far more than would be deemed safe.
65 by my count.
Jesus Christ.
We had the movie playing twice a night for 11 weeks straight.
I haven't seen it once.
Oh, really? Yeah, you missed out. It's a good movie, man. It's a good swashbuckler epic. It's a lot of fun.
Just the first one.
Yeah, this is the first one. The second one takes like about 20 or 30 minutes to kind of get going, but I liked it by the end. The third one was just way too convoluted. The fourth one was okay, and the fifth one was okay, but it's kind of like you can let the series die now. I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I think that was one of those things where they actually should have just stopped with the first one. In my opinion.
Dude, it made so much fucking money though. So
like, they were never going to leave it alone though. As soon as you saw how big it got, there's like, we're gonna milk this sucker dry.
Well, the thing is no one at the studio knew how big it was going to be. Like when I went to go see the movie, I had gotten I bought the Pirates of the Caribbean, the video game from Bethesda, because what it was is they were making Sea Dogs 2. And then last minute, Disney came in and gave them a lot of money to basically turn it into a Pirates of the Caribbean game. Where like your whole point is like to go fight the Black Pearl in the end. Like Keira Knightley did like a whole intro into the game and shit. But I bought the game when it came out and it came with a free ticket to go see Pirates of the Caribbean. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll go see this. It looks like a fun movie. So I went to the midnight show with my friends and we all freaking loved it because it was just like a lot of fun. And then the next night at my theater, holy shit, we sold out like 2 nights in a row. We could hold 700 cars.
Jesus.
So and we had like, that was us running around like chain smoking cigarettes and yelling at people. Those were good times. Oh no, I could smoke on the job and yell at people. Like, and I mean like straight up curse at people. So yeah, it ruined me for literally any other job. That's why I do YouTube.
Anyways, I gotta go because I need to eat food.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much for coming in. Good conversation.
It's the first time I met you, and it's fun times.
Yeah, how's your cat, by the way?
To be, he is alive and furry, and he's not a human, so he's not that interesting.
Okay, well, no, I remember you were having that fundraiser on the cunt stream, right?
Oh, right, yeah. Well, he had pea crystals.
He had what?
He had pea crystals.
Oh, okay.
Really fucking exciting to talk about. This is really cool.
Sorry. Well, right at the same time, I had to do a GoFundMe for my cat that needed $6,000 to do a gallbladder stone removal. So
I need to do a GoFundMe for human child. It's a lot more interesting and real than just being like, oh, I need to GoFundMe for a cat.
Nobody will support that though.
A human child.
Yeah, nobody will support that.
Yeah, it's
not a pet. Fuck it.
Not a pet. Yeah. No, they'll be like, oh, it's for a baby. Safe surrender site. That shit. Move on. Get a cat.
Stop being a moocher.
Yeah, you're a terrible person because you can't take care of your child. Oh, the pet.
It's true. I feel like charity deals with things that people have more emotional connection to. You know. If you don't have a kid, you don't care about children. You're just like,
Well, I
let
have
it
a child
die.
I'm looking at right now, and I care about kids. Oh, what's she doing?
Exactly. You would give to a charity, but your general person who's childless wouldn't. They just be like, it's not a pet. It's not very significant.
Well, however, I mean, to be fair, at this age, she generally is like a pet. You know,
Oh, okay. Well,
she's like a lap cat. You know, she hangs out with you all day.
You
Monster.
could get some free money for that.
That's what you do. If you have to do it for a human, you have to dress him up like a cat. That's your GoFundMe photo.
I think it's a bit contradictory because if you eat meat, no one cares. They're just like, whatever, eat the chickens. Eat the fucking cows. But, oh my god, your cat's sick? We all care.
People have different, different emotional triggers. So
yeah.
Humans are weird. They always have been. They
Know
always will be.
If your child gets sick, and then I will contribute to the GoFundMe. is that what it is? Or is
I'm taking her in for her shots on Monday, so I think she'll be okay. But I appreciate.
Yeah, I'll share the child's GoFundMe while I go donate on this pet one over here.
Or it could be a Kickstarter for your child. I don't know if Kickstarter is the right venue.
No, what would I kickstart? Like, oh, help me kickstart my child. So what I need is money for the raising of the baby. But I can take care of the making.
Well, there's development cycles and definitely milestones like eating solid foods would be a good milestone in this development project.
Well, you're kickstarting your child's life, so kickstart my child's health and development.
Well, I think you're onto a solid idea there, Tim.
Well, there you go. I'll start
just let people know that it will be an 18-year development cycle, possibly 21.
It's a deep investment, but it's
although let's be fair, it's our current society, so really 26 before they ever leave the house. So they'll leave when the insurance runs out.
I hope not for your sake.
Anyways, I'll catch you guys later.
Later on, man. Have yourself a good night. Or day. I don't know what time it is where you're at.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
I'll join your late night streams again if I see them around.
All right, man. Hit me up.
All right. Bye.
Well, I just realized how horribly out of sync my YouTube screen is because I just got to the point in the video where we're talking about Ghostbusters.
Oh, yeah. I usually don't even look at the... I always like disable the video part. I'm like, people were like saying at the beginning of this, why aren't you on camera? And I'm like, I'm too fucking tired for it.
Oh, that's okay. I'm bleary-eyed. People are noticing. It's totally fine.
Oh yeah.
I don't mind at all.
Something I was. So are you on the West Coast?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where at?
North Idaho, actually.
Oh, you're in Idaho. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really West Coast though. It's Idaho.
Yeah, it's like, Pacific time zone.
Well, okay, if you want to like argue semantics over it.
Not West Coast, but
I'm over in Olympia, so I'm a ways.
Yeah, not that far. I actually my sister and my parents are over in they're just about an hour south of Seattle.
Oh, that's actually about where I'm at. Yeah. So next time if you come to visit, hit me up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm pretty sure I'm like basically an hour south of Seattle, so it's not bad out here. There's not much going on. That's why I spend all the time on.
No, actually, I thought it was really low. I've only been on that side of the state just a handful of times. Last time was actually a lot longer than I'd care to admit. Some friends of mine bought me some tickets to go see one of my favorite bands that were playing just like smack dab in between Seattle and Anacortes. And a friend of mine actually lived in Anacortes, so that was actually a really lovely area up there.
Oh yeah, the San Juan Islands. Those are really pretty. We went up to over the summer. My dad and my stepmom took my girlfriend and I up to Port Townsend, up on the top of the peninsula, and just like walked around there for the day. It was very pretty. Like, I don't think I could ever live there though. Like, I need, like, I don't like I like where I live, but at the same time, I'm also like missing living in like San Diego and Los Angeles and Portland because there was shit to do.
Well, see, I live in a tiny little town, and I sit there. It's like I need mountains. I need mountains around me, and I'm fine. Mountains and high speed internet, and I'm content.
Yeah. See, well, I live in the forest. Like I legitimately live like right on the outskirts of like the Capitol Forest, right? So like deer come through my yard all the time. Although I'm sure in North Idaho you see a lot of that stuff.
Oh yeah, there's usually this time of year. There's usually a deer in the driveway when I pull in when I get home from work.
Yeah, I see them. If I drive around like at night, I'll see like you ever notice they travel like in packs of 3?
Yeah, it's either threes or at least multiples of threes. It seems it's kind of odd that way.
Yeah, I've noticed quite a bit of that because like they'll cruise through my yard in 3s, and sometimes like it's rare to see a buck, but I see him a couple times. Usually only in the middle of the night. Like one of them, I almost hit with my car because like, he was just like he darted out in the road, and I'm like, "What are you doing, son of a bitch? You're
They
gonna
do
wreck
that
my Kia."
all the time. Yeah, because I live right on in a area that has a lot of forestry, and yeah, that's pretty much the only time I ever actually see 4 deer is when it's 3 does and a buck.
Yeah, so basically the buck is like really pimping that shit. So I mean, it's good on him. So out of curiosity, how many what's your sub count up to now? I haven't seen your sub count in the last couple of days.
You're over 71,111. That's easy.
Nice.
Well, that's really slowed down, but I'm in this weird position where I don't have a basis of comparison, really. It's like I seem to recall something kind of being off in January of last year, but I haven't even been doing this for 3 years yet. So
yeah, I'm about to hit 6 years myself next this month actually.
And around this time last year, I had around 2,300 subscribers.
It's amazing how fast
have no basis of comparison. Yeah, as I was sitting there early February of last year, I was sitting there going, if I'm lucky, I'll be able to break 3,000 by the end of the year. That'll be nice.
It's yeah, there's like this last year for me was pretty slow actually in terms of growth. I went from like about 135 to about 157 in over the course of 2017, which is actually a pretty it's okay,
over a 20,000 gain. That's not bad.
It's not bad, but it's also like that if you break it down month to month. Beforehand, I was pulling in 3,000 to 4,000 subs a month, and then this is breaking down to like, 1,500 or so, right? Or to 2,000, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I think for the past month, I didn't even break 1,500.
Yeah. So for me though, Mike, because I cover so much random stuff, I get a lot of the a lot of views, but the subs aren't really coming in. 1 second. There you go. So it's but the thing is though, I think you'll probably have a faster growth rate this year than I did last year. I wouldn't be surprised if you catch up to like 150.
It's possible. It depends on how many indie devs I piss off this year.
Well, it also depends on how many controversies involving games this year there are. Which let's be realistic. We've got a new Rockstar game coming out, so tons of stuff's probably gonna happen with that.
Oh, yeah. But that was the big thing that happened for me was I pissed off Dentola Studios and they came at me, and then I broke the story for the whole Alex Maurer situation, and that was about half of my growth last year was just the Alex Maurer situation.
Yeah, that story was fucking crazy, man. I talked about it once in a video, but I got the wrong image because like I googled Alex Maurer and I grabbed the wrong image, and I'm just like, that's shitty. I'll just pull the video.
No, I don't think you did.
Was it the guy with the beard?
Yeah.
Oh, people kept telling me I had the wrong person.
No, that was Alex Maurer. Yeah, I remember. No,
because I got it wrong and I was like doing something else at the time. I just like forgot about it.
No, that was one of the things though where she because Alex Maurer's trans, and so she there is a much smaller a few smaller channels that actually like shared her picture or something like that. So she went after them and filed DMCA takedowns on those videos because it shared her pre-transition pictures, even though you Google it and it was like the first thing that came up.
Okay, so that's that. Yeah, that's because I mean that's generally how I find out that information. Like I'll just Google it and stuff. But
no, I didn't even know you'd taken the video down. Otherwise, I would have said something. This is like, no, you had the right picture.
I was getting a lot of messages saying that I was like, I got the wrong person, and I'm like, oh shit! And I was out doing something at the time, and I just.
Well, I think that was also at the time before Maurer started trying to make it a trans issue. And so it's like some people knew that Alex Maurer was trans, and a lot of people didn't because I never brought it up because, it didn't matter. It wasn't pertinent to the conversation.
Yeah.
Until Maurer started trying to ram it down people's throats and make that a thing.
Yeah, no, people are, they definitely do that kind of crap when they feel like I think in her case, she was in the wrong every step of the way, wasn't she?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So didn't that they settled, right? Is that what happened?
They settled, and it was very, very, very favorable on the Imigos side. Well, I should say Maurer was wrong in every conceivable way that she went about it. See, the difficulty was there an issue of Maurer not getting paid appropriately? Was there some stuff going on with Imigos? Possibly. There's been some evidence to come out again from smaller channels that makes that somewhat likely, but the sources kind of have to take them with a bit of a grain of salt. I think one of them was Don Thacker's ex-girlfriend.
Okay.
So a lot of people were asking me, why don't you do a video on this? Because it's really hard to verify this stuff, and a lot of the stuff that I presented to Don, he was able to provide counter evidence for. So, that would be a titanic amount of work for probably not really much there. But the way Maurer went about it was she started issuing DMCA strikes on anything involving her anything she worked on for the game, because she saw that as her content, even though that's not legally the case.
Yeah. The whole situation was crazy from what I could see. And then it's always funny with the indie dev situation, because it's like I was trying to tell Tim, it's with the indie devs and the journalists all being in the same place, it becomes kind of a melting pot of conflicts of interest.
Mm-hmm. And it's good you'll always be forming connections and things like that. And it's good to maintain those connections. But, that's something where if you form a friendship with someone and you're talking about their stuff, you should just let people know. It's not hard to do.
I know. I found it funny that I think Tim was having trouble getting what we were saying on that one.
I think so, a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know if we just weren't explaining it correctly or what, but it's a nuanced thing for the most part, because a lot of people don't view gaming or gaming press as being anything more than just enthusiast, and they tend to not look at that with any level of scrutiny. Like, why should I care? This is just people talking about pixels on a screen. Never mind, it's the top entertainment medium on the planet.
Well, at one point in time, people felt that way about movies too. They thought movies, they thought motion pictures, these moving picture things, they thought it was a fad. It was never going to take off. And, the idea of it being treated as seriously as, as a form of entertainment, let alone a form of art, that, no one way back then thought it would be possible. And, video gaming is still somewhat in its infancy. It's just growing its legs. It's learning its way. And so it's unfortunately not learning from the mistakes of the past of other genres and other mediums. And so it's going through a lot of those same growing pains that we've seen repeat throughout history with movies and television and radio and all that.
Yeah. And it's going to happen to every single industry, obviously. And we see happen here on YouTube with the whole people not disclosing sponsored. And what's really crappy about that too is people in the UK, YouTubers in the UK don't have to disclose it.
Yeah. So that's just so shady.
I know. Oh, what's wrong?
Oh, no.
Oh, I think she's hungry again. I just fed you 4 ounces. She's been just having a hell of a day. But yeah, I should probably wrap this up because I do need to go change her, and I probably have to feed her again. I might need to throw her in the car for a quick ride.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's like 2 a.m. So.
I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning, so I am tired.
Right behind you. So,
but yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming in and good to chat with you the first time.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun.
Clearly, the baby sounds the alarm. So, but to everyone else, oh shit, okay, okay. To everyone else, thanks for coming in, and we'll do this again soon. Peace out, everyone.